radio. But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast. Curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights. Radio Generation.
A very good morning to you. Welcome to Radio Generation. My name is Movie. The time right now is 1 minute past 6 o'clock. I hope wherever you are, you're having a fantastic morning. And if you're planning to get out there and work, make sure you grind to the fullest. Meanwhile, my name is Movie, and this is the home of hard truths and bold insights. It is the People's Breakfast.
Radio Generation. Good morning. My name is Trisha. How are you? And of course, you want to follow us on our social media pages. Remember, we are there on Instagram. We are there on X. We are there on TikTok, we are there on Facebook, all those platforms. Find us at Radio Gen KE, Facebook, Radio Generation Kenya.
Na kama kawaida, we usually start with telling you what the UN is celebrating or any other significant day that is being celebrated around the world. And of course, we will get into the train. So let's go straight in and talk about what day are we celebrating today. Nimeona umetumia it's Masafafonia. Misifofu chifafa.
Oi, later misophonia.
Oh, misophonia.
World Misophonia Awareness Day. Yes, and this is a day that is observed to raise awareness about sound sensitivity disorders.
Okay.
Yes.
Sound sensitivity.
Yes, disorder. This is a disorder where specific sounds, often like chewing, breathing, they trigger some intense negative emotions and physical reactions.
Even breathing.
Yes.
So if you hear me breathing like right now,
kuna tu venye
unakasirika,
unasikia vibaya, unasikia irritated, you feel like
okay.
And somebody can just hate you for that. How you breathe.
Oh, and I get the chewing part. There are some people who chew very badly. It's disgusting. Yeah. Someone chews with their mouth open, or when they're chewing chewing gum.
Yeah.
Someone chews domina funka kabisa, and they make some very nasty sounds. So I get it.
So now this one is for like your breathing. Unajua kuna hiyo normal, like you get disgusted when maybe somebody is chewing while they are opening their mouth and so forth, and the sounds you get. But now there is also this one whereby it is not your wish, like it's just not common.
Yeah.
Unasikia mtu ana breathe and you're like, what's happening?
But there's a time I know of someone kitambo nilimjua, but nowadays we don't know each other as much. We grew apart. This person used to breathe so heavily. Do I call it heavily or hard?
So heavily, yes.
Yeah, so when you're in a silent room, let's say you're watching TV, and then usikie akipumua, mbako namuuliza, are you okay? So for me, it wasn't about negative emotions, it was just about concern. You're breathing heavily,
yeah?
Is everything okay? Na naambia na breathe too normal. Na mwangalia lakini namwambia, do you know, I can hear you from here, like I'm almost like 3-4 meters away, I can hear you breathe.
But you can hear them, yeah. So I think basically there's now a disorder that we also need to understand such people.
Yeah.
Si kupenda kwake, like why you irritate them because of your breathing, your way of breathing.
What I know, that there are people who don't like the screeching sound of a sufuria when
of
you're
course.
Maybe ulikuwa umepikia ugali alafu na gwaruza na kijiko, kuna ile sauti huwa inatoka. That screeching sound, it's really
that's me, but I think that is common to many people.
But maybe I don't feel it.
You don't feel anything. Oh my God.
Kuna watu wengine wakigwaruza pia blackboard na kucha zao.
Yes, they start feeling
that screeching sound that is like, hey, you know. So is that part of misophonia ama hiyo tuitoe hapo?
No, I think hiyo ni there are some things that are most common, but kuna zingine mtu ako oversensitive.
Exceptional,
Yes,
okay.
ako oversensitive, and those are the people now we want to raise awareness about through this day, so that now you can understand them.
Okay.
Kikana mtu kama yule una understand, sometimes unaweza kuwa unauliza, okay, mtu kwani anaishi anakasirikanga tu ovyo si kupenda kwake. It is a disorder.
So if you ever meet someone, your partner, and then they tell you, wewe unapumua aje?
Achana na hizo za partners.
They probably have misophonia.
No, those people in marriages, achana nao. Wewe unagurumaje usiku?
No, there's a snoring which is annoying, of course. And by the way, you can actually treat snoring. Snoring can be treated. I won't get into the details, but just check out, Google. You can see maybe it's because of your weight. Unajua ukiwa uko na weight kubwa ama umenona, even your windpipes are usually constricted at night because of the way ukilala, the way your body organs realign themselves.
Okay, there's this perception that almost all men snore.
No.
Is it true?
No. No. It depends. Again, I've told you it's about it could be about weight. It could be anything else also, not just about weight. You could be having other issues as well. So you can actually go to a doctor, get checked, and they can treat that snoring.
Okay. But there are some people we need to take to such places.
Okay.
Because if they are in a room, you might think it is a generator.
Oh, ni generator.
Ni carburetor imekosa maji.
Watu wengi pia kama walikunywa kamnyeso jana alafu walale pia mwili kuna venye that exhaustion can make you snore.
That is fair enough.
I've said it's treatable.
Okay.
It can be treated.
Well, it is also Independence Day for some countries like Argentina. Walipata independence in 1816. It's also Independence Day for South Sudan, of course, in 2011. Yeah, same day.
Okay.
Yeah, same month.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good for them. And congratulations for attaining independence.
Okay.
Lakini umesema Argentina 1916. 1816.
Yes.
Over 200 years ago.
Kuna watu walipata uhuru kitambo.
I've always known, of course, Argentina at one point was...
You can confirm. You can check on it.
I'm not saying that I doubt you. What I'm saying is, I know for a fact that, yes, Argentina at one point was actually colonized.
Colony, yes.
Yes, by the Spanish. I just didn't think it was...
kitambo sana.
Yes, 200 years ago. Wow.
And I usually look at the pattern at which these people were colonizing each other. And you realize, tulishi tukisema kwamba US was not... colonized by the watu wengi walikuwa wanaona shindwa aje. Yeah, so kuna tu some countries that kutoka kitambo, of course, because of civilization, technology, and so forth, they felt like were more superior than others.
But if we're being honest, a country like America wasn't necessarily colonized. Yes, it was a colony for sure, but it was a colony of a lot of Western countries, because if you look at the way the US is made up, it has a lot of watu wa UK, original Germans, they call themselves native Germans or something. So you will find that pia kuna watu walitoka kuna watu walitoka even Scandinavian countries like in Norway, Sweden, nini. So they came and they established their own colonies within America.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and they found Native Americans there.
Yeah.
Native Americans had been there for a very long time. So to be honest,
it is the Native Americans who
are colonized.
Yes.
And one of the biggest thing that defeated them was the diseases that came from these other countries, because for a very long time the Native Americans had never left continental America. So when watu wengine walikuja na magonjwa kama kina measles, walikuja na magonjwa kama typhoid, cholera, things that the Native Americans had never experienced. It's a very interesting history. So if you get time, you can go check it out.
Yes, our train taking us to this one unknown who said that no one is too small to make a difference. When we all take responsibility, we all move the nation forward.
Come again.
This one is from somewhere unknown, but of course it was echoed by this one Greta Thunberg, this Swedish climate activist.
Okay.
And it says, no one is too small to make a difference. When we all take responsibility, we all move the nation forward.
That's true. That's what we're told. Each and every single one of us has got a civic duty to vote.
Yes.
For instance, we are usually told by the DCI every now and then, fichua kwa DCI. You could be having information critical to your community, and if you tell the DCI, for example, wanafanya nini? They come in and they save the day, and your community is a better community. And
even your input in terms of the economy of the country. Hiyo biashara yako kidogo ambao unafanya, by the way, in one way or another, it is building, it is helping move this country forward economically.
Actually, kuna watu ukifuatilia unapata maybe in his or her area, this person is the largest supplier, say, of milk. kama hungekuwa hapo, your community ingekuwa ina have kuendea maziwa mbali sana. So that's the impact that a single person can have.
So how about we also put it on the opposite now, the vice versa, that that small action that you are doing can also bring the country back. Yeah.
True.
Hiyo tu effort yako kidogo, like corruption kidogo, hiyo 50 bobo unatoa unapatia polisi. Yeah. Hiyo kwenda kuvunja mali ya watu, it is also forming that part of pulling the country backwards.
Right.
Yeah, so I think both sides ina work. Ukifanya the right things, tunasonga mbele pamoja.
Ukifanya the wrong things,
tunarudi nyuma wote. Yes.
All right. Like that. All right. So that's the train. Can we check out rgk.co.ke?
Yes,
if you haven't joined, open your browser, any of your browsers, and just type in rgk.co.ke. Utatona pale live. We are live and direct there. You can watch and you can also listen in case you want to choose differently, but also you will get the top stories that have been making headlines in the last couple of hours. And where we want to start right now is about the death toll of Sabasaba protests, which happened on Monday. That is our freshest story. So if you can just open that, let's see what our reporter has had to say about it. At least 31 people have now been confirmed dead following the July 7 Sabasaba protest, in what the Kenya Human Rights Commission describes as a deeply troubling human rights crisis. The commission released an update report on Tuesday, that is yesterday, detailing the extent of the violence that rocked various parts of the country during the demonstrations. In its statement, KHRC revealed that 107 people were injured, 2 cases of enforced disappearances were recorded, and 532 individuals had been arrested by July 8th at 7 p.m. The commission also reported incidents of property destruction, although it noted that the full extent of the losses had not yet been determined. Okay, so another shocking revelation. It's like every single day we wake up to news that we don't want to really digest. 31 people. As of Monday evening, we had been told they were 11.
They were 11,
because that is what had been confirmed at the time. And even the National Police Service came out and said 11 lives were lost during the demos. But now KHRC, that is the Kenya Human Rights Commission, which is also part of the government.
Yes.
Just to make it very clear, KHRC is a department in government. In government,
it's only that most of the time it is usually so independent.
Yeah, it is one of they were called what? CIOs by someone came here. I think it was on Friday or Thursday. But anyway, so 31 people have lost their lives. And these are 31 families
that are grieving as we speak,
whose lives have been changed forever. Forever. Like Sabasaba for them will always be that day that they do not want to relive again. And I remember we were having conversations here with the guests that we had on Monday when we were talking to Professor Ogola.
Yes.
Yesterday on Tuesday, when we spoke to Pigeon, and also when we spoke to the other guest. And the one thing that we were asking, that is Philip Etale, the Director of Communications at ODM. The one question we were asking is, are we going to operate the same way we have been operating? Because we have seen that things are not necessarily going towards the direction that Kenyans want. It has now become counterproductive. If people can organize maandamano, but others are going to a hospital to loot and to, cause mayhem and chaos.
Yes.
Stop a cesarean section. Yeah. Do not just walking into an operating room what you have
Imagine.
done. Contaminating that space.
Okay.
What if the mother comes out there with an infection? Na yeye alikuwa ameenda tu kuzaa mtoto surely. And many other things that we can point out.
Well, I think also one thing I will say, ignorance is such a very bad disease. There's also an aspect of ignorance among also Kenyans, especially those who are being used as goons.
Okay.
Yeah, kuna some level of ignorance yenye pia sisi kama wa Kenya tumefikia, because hata kama umepewa pesa, why do you have to get into an hospital? Kuna tu, okay, hata kama umepewa pesa, go do other stuff. Kando. Try understand the space that you want to get yourself in, especially issues to do with life. Imagine if today maybe somebody interrupted your process of being given birth.
Issue ni huyo mtu amelipwa specifically aende kwa hiyo hospitali
to go and do such thing.
Yes. Kuna mwenye amelipo aende supermarket kuloot. Kuna mwenye amelipo aende achape watu kwa streets. Kuna mwenye amelipo aende kwa akavunje maduka za watu. Kuna mwenye amelipwa specifically aende kwa hiyo hospitali. Because wacha nikwambie kitu kimoja. Wewe ukitaka tuseme tu you're a kawaida goon. What are you going to do in a hospital? Let's say you're not hired. No one has paid you to do anything. But you've decided, akina Mbuvi wanaenda maandamano. Wacha sasa mimi nitafute advantage yangu. Au utaenda kwa hospitali? Chances are utaenda kwa supermarket, ukibe food stuff or electronics. You know, things that are of value. Because here as Patricia, you're looking at value. You're not looking at I just want to walk into an operation room. Hey, kuingia kwa hospitali itakusaidia anyway. So huyu ni mtu ama ni watu walipatiwa specifically wakaambiwa your target is that hospital. Yes,
it's quite unfortunate. That's why I'm saying even themselves, you have also a duty of using your common sense. Hata kama unatumwa mahali jamani, you also have a responsibility. Again, yesterday like I went to some place, some estate, and I was like, nikifika pale is tear gas kila mahali, like unapata hiyo harufu ya tear gas, unajua bado ilikuwa still fresh. Nilipata kama residents wa that area, they were wanamwagia barabara maji because it was full of hiyo tear gas. Then nikawauliza, so somebody told me that in our area here hatujai kuwa na issues. Sisi hatujai kuwa tuingii katika stories za maandamano. So wakasema it is just purported that kuna Prado ilikuja hapo ikapea vijana pesa, wakaambiwa yachomeni vitu hapo ya cause some chaos. So now my question was, well, we guarded the CBD.
Right.
We had police barricades all over.
Parliament and everywhere else.
Yeah, we guarded those places. But now we transferred these same kills to wapi? Kwa ma estates.
Yeah.
Where now people are living.
They were left unprotected.
Yes.
But you see, that's okay. I'm gonna just give you my thoughts on this, and this is just a random, not even random. This is just my 2 cents on the whole issue. The reason why your estates are being attacked, the reason why your hospitals are being attacked, is so that ukasirike wewe kama mwananchi, so that you can be against maandamano. Yes, because if every time maandamano itakuwa inafanyika, then estate yako inaatakiwa ama duka yako inaatakiwa,
inavunjwa. Yes,
of course you're gonna be like, utakuwa unasikia watu wakiorganize protest and you're like, hapana, no guys, we can't do this, no, because where you are directly affected. You tell me, the person who of these 31 individuals, the families rather that have lost these 31 individuals, do you think they want to hear maandamano again?
No.
Because every time there is maandamano, they remember their kin who was killed. We're talking about everyone else, not just the ones, these 31, everyone else that has lost their life since June last year. Their families, they do not want, they want nothing to do with maandamano, because unfortunately they lost someone in the same maandamano. During the Mau Mau period, this is something I was told. I don't know how true it is, but I was told that during the Mau Mau struggle, wale mabeberu walikuwa wanachoma shamba za locals.
Okay.
Yes. And then they blame it on the Mau Mau.
On the Mau Mau guys.
So that the locals can have hatred towards who?
The Mau Mau guys.
Exactly.
So this is ni mchezo wa town, eh?
Sasa mimi nakwambia tu my 2 cents. It is unverified, of course.
Yeah.
We've not, umesema uliona, ulisikia watu wakisema kuna Prado.
It's purported, yes.
Yeah, so it's alleged, yeah?
Yes.
But if it is true, then it is working. There's someone who's benefiting from this misinformation and disinformation. All right, and that is the truth of the matter. But here we are focusing on the 31 lives that were lost. So pole to the families, condolences, of course, from the entire Radio Generation crew. We cannot even pretend to understand what you guys are going through, but this is wrong. No one should die during a peaceful
Any protest.
Yes, no one should die. All right, let's check out what other stories are there. Senator Guyo, not Senator but Governor Guyo. So Senate saves Governor Guyo from impeachment over procedural flaws. Yes. So Isiolo Governor Abdi Guyo has survived an impeachment attempt after the Senate on Tuesday dismissed the case brought against him by the county assembly, citing procedural flaws and an active court order barring the process. The Senate voted in favor of a preliminary objection raised by Guyo's legal team, which argued that the Assembly's motion was invalid due to an existing court injunction and failure to meet legal requirements. Now, a total of 31 elected senators voted to uphold the objection, effectively ending the proceedings. Only 12 opposed the motion.
Okay. We have seen the Senate saving these people many times.
I mean, remember they saved Governor Kawira the first time?
Yes.
They saved her a second time. Lakini ikafika mahali akaambiwa kwa heri.
Lakini Meru nao
yeah.
Ile vita yao ilikuwa easy, like hiyo ilikuwa end goal, ni lazima kwamba governor aende nyumbani. Ilikuwa tu lazima because they tried. Akakuwa saved, tried again,
akakuwa saved.
Ya mwisho
ndio ikabidi kafanyika.
So now this one pia also tumeona kwamba imekuwa on the headlines all over every now and then. By the way, tumekuwa tukifuatilia. So now the Senate imemsaidia, imemsave
sana.
Otherwise he was going
he was actually going, but what he needs to do now is go back home and make peace with the MCAs. Yes, because clearly something is going on. Something is going on. I remember there is a time also Governor Kivutha Kibwana walijaribu kumimpeach.
I remember that.
And it became so bad that President Uhuru had to intervene.
No, that one was chaotic. Do you remember? It was chaotic because there was even the issues of, is it shooting? That did not, So it was really chaotic and again, I think that was the first time such happened. That is the first time we were seeing now the impact, what MCAs can do. Yes.
And I remember Governor Kivutha at the time said, you know what, me, I don't care what you guys do, but I'm not going to allow corruption in this county. If there's someone I respect and has upheld the virtues of integrity, it is one Professor Kivutha Kibwana. Umeisikia professor akiwa na drama yoyote mahali?
No.
Forget scandal. Tuanze tu na drama. Hujasikia. Scandal yoyote umesikia?
Sijasikia.
Even when he was, because he has been in government for a very long time. Even when he was in government, sijasikia kesi hata moja hivi imekuwa leveled against the professor. Sijui aliiba kitu mahali. Ako kotini because sijui kuna mwanamke anadai nini. Ako kotini because someone disappeared somewhere. Nothing. Nothing. And if we can just get half of leadership,
like
half
him,
from executive all the way to MCAs.
Yes.
If we can just get half of those individuals having his kind of character, integrity and all that, the things that we say that we want to see in leaders, I think this country would go very far.
There's a time he wanted to vie for the presidency seat.
Yes.
And now people came out and said that he is a project.
Yeah, that was before the devolution, before we even understood what, before we even knew kuna kitu kama governor or senator. He wanted to. But at the point, of course, the kingpin of Ukambani couldn't allow it. And that is how Professor Kivutha Kibwana's dreams just dissipated.
No, even after govern, is it? After govern?
No, people were urging him.
Urging him to go for the seat.
He didn't come out with it. He didn't say that, I want to. But people came out and he sort of attempted. But towards election, Akona, this is just a waste of time.
From where I sit, I do appreciate the governor, by the way. He's one of the people behind the making of me to be what I am today, by the way. I will give you a story one
Patricia.
day. Yes, he has really participated in my life to be whatever I am today. Yes.
Kwani he's your godfather?
No.
Alikuchangia kitu mali? Alikulipia shule?
During his time, of course, he really supported education in the county and so many people. So somehow I was a beneficiary of such policies and programs in the county.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Moses Kuria resigns as Ruto's senior economic advisor. Yay. The first Kenyan to resign.
Yeah.
Moses Kuria has stepped down as a senior economic advisor in the office of the president, ending his nearly 3-year tenure. Is it tenure? His 3-year tenure in President William Ruto's administration. Now, in a statement posted on Tuesday evening on X, Kuria said that he had personally informed President Ruto of his decision, which the head of state accepted. This evening, I have met my boss and my friend, President William Ruto. The president has graciously accepted my decision to resign from government, Kuria stated. Kuria thanked Ruto for entrusting him with various responsibilities within the Kenya Kwanza administration, describing the experience as an honor. I thank President Ruto for having given me an opportunity to serve as Cabinet Secretary for Investments, Trade and Industry for 11 months, Public Service Delivery and Performance Management for 9 months, and Senior Economic Advisor for the last 10 months, he said. Now, he was appointed Senior Advisor in the Council of Economic Advisors on August 23rd, 2024, shortly after his exit from the Public Service docket. He had previously served in the Trade and Industry Ministry. Aya. So, jamaa ametoka.
Yeah.
Predictions. Why do you think ametoka?
Well, it is hard to predict. It is too early to predict.
No. It is not too early to predict.
Well, for me, I feel like it is too early to predict.
It is good enough time to guess why he has left government. Yeah.
Well, it could be because of the pressure of the Gen Zs, what is happening currently.
But Gen Z hawana shida na Moses Kuria.
Well, hawana shida na Moses Kuria, but wako na shida na the administration that he is in.
So he has suddenly gotten a conscious.
Let me tell you, when you're saying that hawana shida, you need to understand that he has been a senior economic advisor to the president.
Right.
What does that mean? Because actually, all this agitation is all about economy. In the country, it's all about, because the governance leads to the stability. Good governance leads to the stability of the economy of the country.
I get where your point is going, but Kuria's work was to advise.
Yes.
He doesn't implement anything.
He doesn't. Yes.
He will just tell the president tununue mikate 7. But president anaweza amua kununua mikate 10, ama president anaamua kununua mkate mmoja, ama president amue asinunue mkate hata kidogo, anunue chapati instead.
So that is just a probability.
So he, to be honest, if I had any issue with any member of government, I don't think I would have a problem with the advisors that the president has.
Me, I will have a problem with the advisors.
I will have a problem with David D, for instance, because we see the kinds of statements he puts out on X. That one I can have an issue with him.
That is on X.
Because he directly engages us as citizens.
So,
you get?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a problem with Professor Kisiangani, for example, because Kisiangani rarely says anything anywhere on social media.
So that's what I'm saying. You know, the social media, it is personal. It is him. But now there's that duty, there's that responsibility that you're given as an advisor to the president.
Right.
So which you are supposed to do in an office. Sinisawa. So now if you tell me like the president is doing stuff.
Right.
We as Kenyans, we know there are people who are supposed to advise him. There are people behind the actions of the president. So it doesn't matter whether he takes advice or not. So when you're there, you're given a responsibility. Cynthia,
yes.
You advise somebody and you can tell that this person does not take the advice that we give him. You have a duty to resign.
Well,
yeah, you have a duty to walk away, because if right now mimi niko hapa, yes,
is the prediction I was looking for. Sasa nikikuuliza predictions kwingine unaniambia hivyo.
No, okay, sasa
niambie huyu jamaa ametoka kwa sababu maybe askizwi.
So ndo nasema that is why I'm saying, when I said pressure of the protesters, he pressure, it is indirectly that maybe it could be that you're advising and your advice is not being taken. Again, the pressure inaweza kuwa as a result of you not also advising correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, so
you realize
this pressure ikona so many dynamics behind it.
So you realize that you've been telling the president nothing.
Yeah. Kwani ndo mnamwambia president bwana kila kitu iko sawa. Tuendelee hivyo.
No, or nyinyi ndio mlimwambia atoe pesa aende akapeleke huko Grammys.
Yes.
Then you realize
hapa tuliblanda hapa. So you know hizo pressure zote they are as a result of governance. Alafu hii governance tunajua the policies they are as a result of advice and so many other factors.
But there's someone who said that the president doesn't necessarily take advice.
Okay, they said.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was, but alisema that president ni kama hachukwangi advice yao. So maybe Moses Kuria alirealize na shidanga nikiambia president tufanye hivi hafanyi. Siku nyingine nikamwambia tufanye hivi akafanya the opposite. Siku nyingine nikamwambia tufanye hivi akaimplement nusu na ikafanya kazi. So nikamwambia unaona president, unaona kitu nimekupia, unaona, so why don't you do more of this? Then akataka kufanya. So maybe he realized, what am I doing here? I'm earning a salary for absolutely nothing. This is Kenyans taxpayers money, and I feel like I'm robbing them, because at the end of the day I have this big government vehicle, I have this government protection in terms of police officers, I have this, probably ninalipiwa nyumba kubwa na hakuna kitu nafanya, niko na ofisi kubwa yenye hakuna kitu inanisaidia nayo. So wacha nifanye nini? Wacha nitoke. But this is now my other thought about this whole situation. I am thinking and feeling that perhaps Moses Kuria is about to launch something political. Well, it could be a political agenda, political party,
or something.
But I feel he's definitely going to take a political stand.
Well, and again also, when you go to Twitter, X, you see now how everybody there is also putting in their predictions and their assumptions. And there's this one that caught my attention, saying that it could be a project.
Yeah.
There are some people who are saying that he has resigned, go start a party, and then go and disrupt Mrima.
DCP.
No, it's not DCP, but go and disrupt the central vote block.
Yeah, I mean, and by disrupting, of course, that means that he's going to either dismantle what former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is doing, or undermine him, or provide an alternative to what the former Deputy President is giving the people of Murima. Yes. So if and that is most probably the thing that is going to happen.
Okay. So
either Moses Kuria joins
DCP,
former DP Gachagua,
yes,
and they continue with this bandwagon of Murima, this history ya Murima yenye pia mimi nataka nielewe vizuri, or he creates his own outfit. Yes, his own outfit that is going to rival DCP. Yes.
For the benefit of who?
Of course we know. Of course, twajua.
So there's a lot, and other Kenyans, of course, they are feeling like, okay, the pressure has been too much. Yeah, the pressure has been too much. So a lot of speculation there. We are waiting to see. We will hear from him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it's time for us to give you the traffic updates. Let's see what is happening all over Nairobi. Which roads are moving, which ones are stagnant, and perhaps where you need to go in case you're stuck.
Traffic.
Sasa ninaangalia hii barabara inajulikana kama Mombasa Road. Nothing to complain about. We usually say at 6:30 nothing much is going on. So you expect very minimal traffic. Airport North Road kidogo ndio kuna traffic as you're approaching Nairobi, as you're approaching Mombasa Road, sorry. So that means if you want to join, to either go towards Kitengela or go towards Nairobi, there's a little bit of traffic, but after that everything else is moving okay. Kuna watu ambao wamekwama pale, hapa ni wapi? Mumekwama karibu na Capital Center, but that's understandable. A little bit of traffic because as you're heading into not South Sea, but as you're heading towards Nyayo, of course you'll find a little bit of traffic here and there. So hiyo ni kawaida, but after that hamna shida yote, kila kitu iko sawa, iko shwari. What are you seeing on your end?
Well, Riruta, Dagoretti area, pia I'm seeing quite everything is quite okay. Yeah. Yes, yeah, everything is quite okay right now. Then the Gong Road itself up to Junction pia kila kitu ni shwari. Pale Prestige quite okay. As you get to town, that is community, that is where there is a little traffic kidogo tu. Then Jogoo Road also quite okay. Ukifika City Stadium, that is where now a little snarl-up is building up. Ukienda sehemu za Thika Road and Thika Super Highway, everything quite okay, except that as you get to town, as you enter town, that is where now we are seeing a little of a snarl up. Mombasa, lights Kengeleni, that is the only place where we usually experience a lot of traffic, and actually the traffic starts all the way from Bombululu, VOK, all through that area huwa kuna a lot of traffic because of course matatu zinabeba na pia kuna lights pale Kengeleni and that junction. So kwa sasa hivi just a little snarl up, but everything quite okay.
All right, anything on the road you think we should know, you know where to find us.
Traffic on Radio Generation.
All right, so we were just talking about Moses Kuria, but we have switched gears. Let's wait and see how that one goes. We do know for a fact that nothing happens hivyo tu kiholela. Everything happens for a reason. Hakuna venye tu Moses Kuria amesema kwa heri ya kuonana. Hapo kuna kitu, kuna jambo. Sasa, what else is on rgk.co.ke? Talam's murder case moved to Kibra as court awaits key evidence. The murder case against Nairobi Central Police Station's former OCS Samson Talam has been transferred to the Kibera Law Courts for pre-trial proceedings amid rising public pressure over the killing of blogger and teacher Albert Ojwang. Ojwang was found dead in police custody on 8th June 2025, with investigations revealing he had suffered severe head injuries and neck compression suggesting foul play. So Talam, now the key suspect in the case, has been charged alongside other officers with murder.
Okay.
So kesi yake imepelekwa Kibra. Wacha tu nitasemekana vipi. Senior Principal Magistrate Ben Ekubi acknowledged both parties' submissions and scheduled July 22nd, 2025 as the next mentioned date when directions on the matter will be issued. Yani unaenda kotini unasikizwa unarudishwa ndani. Unaenda tena kotini unasikizwa unarudishwa ndani.
It's tedious.
Me, I think I would mean as a cheesy.
It's tedious.
And for a former OCS, just being in that position with other inmates.
Yeah.
Wanajua wewe ni OCS because wewe ni celeb, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Wanajua ulikuanga OCS, wanajua ile kitu ilifanyika, na wanakuangalia wanashangaa, we kwa hapa na wewe afande.
Sometimes in one way or another, unaweza kuwa pia ulikuanga boss wa hao saizi ambao uko under their custody hapo,
au makara wengine.
Yes, unaweza kuwa pengine you are their boss at some point.
Let's dive into the papers. The Standard.
But anyway, what is key is justice.
Yes, at the end of the day. But I'm just putting myself in this position and I'm like,
it doesn't matter. What we want is justice, and especially, for innocent soul like Ojwang's life. That's all what you want.
On the Standard newspaper, innocent blood is what is on the headlines. A 6-month-old child will grow up fatherless. The man was sprayed to raise him, gunned down before he could return home. In Kiambu, a 12-year-old Bridget Njoki was shot dead. 12-year-old Bridget Njoki was shot dead while watching TV in her living room. In Kitengela, a mother spent the night guarding the body of her deceased son. When the gunfire stopped, at least 11 lay dead. In a blood-soaked echo of Sabasaba, Kenya's streets have become execution grounds as Gen Zs marched unarmed for justice. Bullets answered their cries. Most fired from behind, striking down those running for safety but never reaching it. That story is on page 4 and 5. Huyu Bridget Njoki alishutiwa akiwa kwa nyumba
watching.
Kwa nyumba.
I think I don't know. Mpaka unajua tunakosa maneno ya kusema.
Kwa nyumba. Unakumbuka mimi nikikwambia no way is safe nowadays. During maandamano nikasema mkisikia gunshots take cover. Take cover, because even in your own house you're not safe.
You remember that day when I was telling you, okay, after now you have barricaded the CBD. You have protected a CBD. Ata kwa estates.
Yes.
Please protect people there. Protect people's properties. Protect lives in the estates.
Yeah.
But now you see, we protected the CBD. But vita ikaenda wapi? Ikaenda kwa hizi estates. And that is why we are seeing all these casualties.
In Kitengela, a mother spent the night guarding the body of her deceased son.
So unfortunate.
Yani you are there, you're just looking at the body of your child. We?
Well, this is some of the reactions. These are some of the reactions from different leaders. Opposition leaders, they said this regime is hostile to all. It cannot be reasoned with and must be resisted. We will not rest, retreat, or surrender. That is from the opposition leaders. This is what the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights said. It is concerning that these latest incidents come barely 2 weeks after 15 protesters were reportedly killed and many more injured in Nairobi and other towns. Yeah. There's this also County Commissioner Joshua Ganatha said a number of police stations in Kakamega are at a high risk, but one thing I must say is the police did the right thing.
Come again.
This is from the County Commissioner Joshua Ganatha, who said a number of police stations in Kagema, in Kagema are at a high risk. But one thing I must say is the police did the right thing. Yoni County Commissioner. There's also some reactions from this one, Miss Anne Kuju, who said, when I arrived at the hospital, my son's body was on a trolley in the emergency department, surrounded by his friends and some protesters. Ni moja wao ambao walipata mtoto wake ambaye aliuliwa. So anaenda hospitali and then apata the body on some trolley there hapo. There's also the business owner Daniel Gikiri, who said, I have been in Nyeri for 6 years and I have never seen anything like this. I never thought that I would be targeted. Those are reactions from Kenyans on the Sabasaba happenings. And it's quite so sad that we are witnessing all these things happening in our country, whereby we have been, by the way, living together in peace, in harmony. And I've always been asking, and I'll keep on asking, where are we heading to? Those people who are responsible for the goons, where do you think you're taking this country?
Rude welcome for baby in hospital attacked by goons. Kitengela Sub-County Hospital was attacked during the Sabasaba demos, and it's another time to remind ourselves that the people who we voted for are not necessarily they're not necessarily for us. Mkaange mkijua, because there's no way kwenye hawa gunzo wamelipwa na nani kama si
tunashinda tunajiuliza
kama si politicians. Nugget. Gachagua allies 35 Gen Z protesters held over Kikuyu court raid. So that is according to this newspaper. There are some Gachagua allies and 35 other Gen Zs who are protesters are being held over Kikuyu court raid. Judge throws out son and father's Landro case amid death threats. That story is on page 3. Pasaris shelves protests bill after outrage. Oh, finally. Let's read what this says. Just about a week after presenting her proposal on the Public Order Amendment Bill 2025, Nairobi woman MP Esther Pasaris has shelved it, at least for the moment. The bill, which seeks to define how demonstrations should be held, has attracted public outcry, with a majority terming it unconstitutional and that it should not be allowed to pass. Ms. Pasaris said that she has decided to pause the pre-publication process to allow for national dialogue and wide public engagement. Surely. Surely. Ni venye mimi sitaki kuongea mbaya, but surely.
Ni hata sina maneno ya kuongezea pale. It's so unfortunate that tumesema that I think the quote of today is the quote of today.
Yes.
Yeah, we talked of those small actions.
Yeah. That either move us forward or backwards as a country.
Yes, and you as a person, as a Kenyan, hata kama ni wewe gun, if you're being paid, hiyo small action yako umetoka unaenda kuvunja duka ya mtu, you think it is benefiting you. It is taking the whole country behind, by the way.
Yeah.
Backwards. We are going backwards.
Yes.
Instead of going forward.
You remember that story we've just read a couple of minutes ago about the mother who guarded her child's body for the entire night?
Imagine.
So here's a story, Kimutai's mother could not allow police to take the body for fear it would be tampered with. They say he was shot by an officer known to him due to a dispute over a motorbike. Hi. A grieving mother has recounted the harrowing ordeal of spending the night with her son's body after he was shot dead by police in Kitengela. In a deeply emotional account, Anne Nyawira described how the family was forced to carry Brian Kimutai's body from the hospital back to their home, fearing it might be tampered with if left in police custody. We had a hard time with the police after they shot him because they wanted to collect it and we feared they could interfere with it. We had to run away with his body. We had no choice but to bring him home and watch over him ourselves, she narrated. We said here on Monday, be very careful in the streets of Nairobi and in the streets of wherever you're going to be. Why? Because someone might take advantage. Someone might take advantage of the bile they have with you. Niko na shida na wewe? Na take advantage nafanya nini?
Now the unrest in the country,
you
take advantage, yes.
Tunasema hapa Tisha ilipatikana kwa maandamano. Ilipatikana kwa maandamano, it's unfortunate. Kumbe mimi nimesettle my score with you. And according to Anne Nyawira, she's alleging that her son was done exactly that. This is a chilling story, by the way. Outrage after police officers in Juja drag a gunshot victim. The National Police Service continues to face widespread condemnation following the Sabasaba protest that left several people dead and others nursing gunshot wounds. The latest outrage follows a viral video showing officers from Juja dragging a man bleeding profusely, allegedly from a gunshot wound. Witnesses say that the young man was shot by officers after a confrontation with youths accused of trying to loot a supermarket.
I also saw that clip. I saw like how the guy was being dragged kwa changa.
Families mourn their loved ones as traders count losses after violence. The story continues. Tuliguzia kidogo ijana. Gachagwa's party wants ICC to probe Ruto over Sabasaba chaos. So DCP wants ICC to probe. How do we get ICC to do some of these things? Because naonanga wakisema tu in the streets. I thought there was a procedure where you actually write a letter, invite the prosecution, or I don't know how that happens, but for a very long time people have been talking about ICC and I don't see ICC doing anything. Ama them, they usually wait for what? Government to government conversations. But we saw King William here,
yes, with
his wife Queen Maxima, and they are from the Netherlands where the Hague is. So that means that is where the ICC is.
Yes.
And the president said that this violence will never happen again. So I don't know kama alisema hivyo because the king was here ama I don't know.
Maybe.
REREC given 5 days to provide details on 59 billion audit queries. Yes, so REREC hapa itabidi wame explain rural wanasemanga rural electrification. Yeah, they need to explain where 59 billion has gone to.
Wajua nchi yetu hii every now and then scandal.
You know, in 2025
scandal, yes.
In 2025 in my grandmother's homestead haina stima. Do you know how close she is? Well, she passed
road,
on. Yeah, she passed on a couple of weeks ago. But do you know how close that homestead is to the road?
To the road.
Yes.
Lakini haijai kupata.
It is less than a kilometer from the road. Stima imepita hapo. But the people inhabiting that entire area hawana stima.
Is it because of the cost of electricity? Like you want to the cost of installations and so forth?
We have been asking even the area MP to come through. MCA tumeongea na yeye.
So what does the MP say?
Personally sijaongea na yeye. What I know is that the people in Ushago wamekuwa wakiongea na yeye.
But Mngala, sasa now you are the kind of people that you are supposed to go and push for such things to happen in your county.
But I shouldn't.
In your area, you are the people who understand. You know, that's the reason why we said most of our families, our relatives, yule mtu mwenye hajapata ile exposure, they might not even be aware of the rights they have. in terms of this connectivity and so forth. So now you are able to hold your governor accountable in a reasonable manner.
Yeah.
Like you can sit down and say, now these are the policies
because I'm a public figure.
Not because you are learned.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at the aspect of being learned and being able to access information and so. Okay. Again, also the position that you hold, you understand. You know how you can put these people to be accountable. So that's something I would challenge you to go back and try to challenge your.
If it's about articulating issues, I have cousins there, I have aunties there, I have uncles there who can articulate the issue. It doesn't necessarily need someone from Nairobi
to come from you
to go all the way to Kitui ndio niongee na governor ama niongee na MP ama niongee na nani ndiye aongee na Rerek ama aongee na Kenya Power ama aongee na Kengen, whoever is in charge wakuja yake stima. I think it's just there's a problem there and I might need to highlight it. Now I might need to employ my journalistic skills and explain.
Go back to your place and try to check. Yes,
the people of Kitui, especially hapo kwa hiyo village yetu, kwa nini hawana stima?
It is important
because kuna mtu anacheza na sisi hapo.
Yeah.
Last but not least,
if you elect leaders who wakienda kule kwa bunge, they are just there, they are quiet.
Yes. They
do not push for any development projects in their place. Wako tu kazi yao, wako tu kwenye bunge tu, yeye ako tu pale anaendelea kupokea mshahara. You know, hata hizi seats, people need also to be creative. People pia wanahitaji, our leaders pia wanahitaji kujituma. You know, it is one thing being a leader, an MP for example, an MCA, but it is another thing for you pushing for development for your area.
There's a lady here, Faith Wekesa, and she has written something about the chaos that has been witnessed in Kenya in the last couple of months. Amid bloody turmoil, Kenyans are slowly losing their humanity. If I can just read the first paragraph. I love cross-border travel. I love cross-border travel. One of my frequent destinations is Rwanda. That beautiful serene city called Kigali is cradled by hills. Yeah, is her Mecca. A visit to the genocide memorial site is always the highlight. It is my grounding place, the place for reflection where I set my heart and priorities right. Underneath the serenity of that beautiful city lies a reminder of how far down a people can fall when ideals, feelings, and convictions are left unchecked. That is where I will stop.
Mambo ni mengi katika hii inchi. Anyway, the biggest story, of course, it's about the killings. So far, and this is what it says about demos, that 140 killed since 2023 over demos. Civil society organizations demand state accountability, which is quite important, by the way. And at the front, I'm seeing a picture of some Kenyans. This one Kenyan who is crying. Yeah, of course, I know they lost one of their loved ones. There are several of photos of people crying. And also, there's also an active human rights defender also there. Then the question is, do you think, who should be responsible for all this, what is happening? Who should be accountable?
When you say all this, because a lot is happening.
Especially the deaths.
But the buck stops with the president. The buck stops with the president. He is the chief executive officer of Kenya. Hakuna mtu mwingine ako juu yake.
You know, I know he's the one who is supposed to, but you know, I'm looking at it from a critical view.
Yeah.
With what we are seeing happening right now, like we have seen since 2023.
Yeah.
Who has ever been? Have we seen any justice over anyone who has been killed?
And that's what I'm saying.
Have we received any justice so far?
And that's why I'm saying it is the president, because the president commands the armies, the police. Yeah. And if he has someone in his cabinet who is not performing duties, that person needs to be checked out. So the buck stops with the president, because at the end of the day, hata IG Kanja anachukuanga amri zake kutoka nani? Kutoka president. Na tunajua that for a fact. DCI wanachukuanga amri zao kutoka wapi? Kutoka president. Yes, we know that for a fact. So if the courts do not have someone to process, the court doesn't go and arrest people. Msipoleta hata judge hivi akiona mtu anachinjwa pale, haizi sema shikeni mtu mleteni.
That is the work of the
police has got to arrest that person, collect evidence and bring that person to the courts. So the judge will see, but there's nothing. The most he can do is just report as a citizen and say, I've witnessed a crime, period. But he cannot prosecute that thing until it is brought before him. Okay? So there is a prosecution through the office of the the DPP. Hiyo isipoleta pia kesi, nothing happens. Now DPP pia hawezi fanya kitu kama askari hawajafanya nini? Hawaja make arrests. So this whole entire thing, if we are being honest about it, the buck stops with the president. Because also the president can order for serenity if he wanted. How? People have been crying for ABCD things. Those are things that the president can provide in a snap like this if he
wanted to.
Yeah.
Wow.
Kuna vitu mingi sana, yani vitu watu wanalilia hapa nje. For example, tumekuwa tukisema corrupt leaders. Some of them we know their CSs, some of them we know their PSs. Who appoints these people?
Of course it's a president.
The president.
Yes.
All right? Si Wetangula, si Mudavadi, ni president. Leo president akisema Patricia kama CS is a corrupt CS, Patricia you're fired. Alafu ambie police investigate because I know Patricia has been taking these tenders, has been diverting these monies in this kind of way. IG atafanya kazi yake. Unaget? Then from there DPP atafanya kazi yake. Then from there court itafanya kazi yake. Then from there Patricia tenda wapi? Tenda kule mali anafaa kupelekwa.
Now the problem is not even the president saying now she's corrupt anahitaji kuchunguzwa. My issue is after now the process has been initiated of kunichunguza or application of the law. That is where now things are just falling apart. I'm telling you most of the time somebody will just come and prove kwamba I'm not guilty, and in the real sense, in the actual sense they are. But Sasa, because ako able to produce sufficient and reliable evidence.
Patricia, let me ask you a question. We have been independent for about 62 years,
yes,
right? We have resources that we have been directing to the police, resources that we have been directing to the judiciary. Okay? We have been directing resources to the DCI, NIS. Unataka kuniambia DCI, they do not have the capacity to investigate anyone in this country?
They do.
Anyone?
They do.
DCI wako na enough resources wakitaka leo kuinvestigate wewe kama Patricia, kuinvestigate CS Murkomen wakitaka, kuinvestigate Professor Kithure Kindiki wakitaka. They have the resources. They can investigate any individual in this country if they wanted. You want to tell me that if they can track someone up until where that person is, and we said this last week, they can track you up and they know what you had for supper yesterday if they wanted. They will know if you're having a clan day other than your husband or your boyfriend. They will know if you're sleeping with anyone else other than your wife,
okay, or
your husband. They will know. And they can present that evidence if need be. They know if you have any secret dealings with anyone. It's just that if they decide to direct their energy and resources to you, they will catch you. So
according to you, it is just the government is not just.
It is a matter of instructions, and we have heard of issues where people are protected by the positions that they hold. Yes. Now because you're a CS, you're untouchable. Because you're a PS, you're untouchable. Because you're an MP, you become untouchable.
Why are they not? Why are they untouchable?
Because of the power that they wield. Okay. Because of the influence that they wield.
It's the influence, or it's the constitution?
Forget the constitution. Forget the constitution. Constitution tuliambiwa hapa juzi na Professor Gola. Hiyo ni karatasi, ni kitabu. Tukitaka tunaweza ichoma. Unaona?
But procedure, yes.
Lakini ni nani ambaye anapatianga hiyo constitution power?
Ni of course it is us.
Ni sisi. Sababu ile sheria iko pale ndani, sisi ndio tutasema ifuatwe ama isifuatwe. So at the end of the day, when we go back to that question of who is in charge of all this,
who is accountable,
mina nakwambia the buck stops with the president. Period. We can say things about IG Kanja, we can say things about Amin wa DCI, we can say things about Nurdin Haji wa NIS, we can say anything about anyone. But at the end of the day, if someone doesn't want those things to move, it is the president. And if he wants them to move, it is still the president who can make them move. Long story short, let's take a break. We get into the news. Then when we return, of course, we shall be telling you about our guests, what they're coming to discuss. Hopefully they are here. Siku hizi unajua nasikia watu wanaogopa kutembea kwa sababu wanaogopa ni kama wanafuatwa. I hope our guests for today are not afraid. So do stand by. Those conversations coming right up.
It's 7 o'clock.
The sound is fine, pump it up, turn it high, all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is Radio Generation. Radio Generation.
Oh, Lord, have mercy, mercy, mercy.
This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. Isiolo Governor Abdi Guyo has survived an impeachment attempt after the Senate on Tuesday dismissed the case brought against him by the County Assembly. The Senate cited procedural flaws and active court order barring the process. It voted in favor of a preliminary objection raised by Guyo's legal team, which argued that the Assembly's motion was invalid due to an existing court injunction and failure to meet legal requirements. A total of 31 elected senators voted to uphold the objection, effectively ending the proceedings. Only 12 opposed motion.
Now, honorable senators, as you may recall, in my communication earlier this afternoon, I made it clear that if the preliminary issue contesting whether the County Assembly of Isiolo held sittings on the 18th June 2025 and 26th of June 2025 to table, debate, pass and all vote on the motion for the proposed removal from office by impeachment of the governor of Isiolo County was to be upheld, these impeachment proceedings will terminate forthwith, and it would not be necessary to proceed to the motion or vote on the second preliminary issue.
31 deaths and 107 injuries were recorded from Monday's Sabasaba protest, according to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. In a statement, KNCHR Vice Chairperson Dr. Raymond Nyeris confirmed that by 7 p.m., the Commission had documented 2 cases of enforced disappearance and 532 overall arrests. KNCHR condemned the violation of human rights, citing that all responsible parties, including the police, civilians, and all other stakeholders, must be held accountable. The protest held to commemorate the historic 1990 Sabasaba pro-democracy movement. Medical workers' unions have announced the immediate withdrawal of their personnel from all healthcare facilities affected by violence during the Sabasaba protest. This follows an attack at Kitengela Sub-County Hospital where individuals posing as protesters broke into the facility, assaulted staff and vandalized critical medical equipment and infrastructure. The Kenya Union of Clinical Officers and the Kenya National Union of Medical Laboratory Officers said the workers will remain off duty until the government guarantees their safety.
The government must take measures to provide security in all facilities where services must be given, because we are neutral. We are not pro anyone. We are there to offer services to any person who will be injured during this demo, or rather the demo that will be coming, or even any police, because we don't choose who to give services.
West Pokot County Security Committee has ordered an immediate vetting of all foreign nationals living in the area. This follows reports of cannibalism and organ harvesting involving the foreign nationals. West Pokot County Commissioner Abdullahi Khalif announced that the vetting process will begin in the sub-counties of Kapenguria, Makutano and Bandera, areas identified as hotspots in the ongoing investigations.
The County Security Committee in its meeting today has directed to vet all aliens from Burundi, Rwanda, Congo, and the community of Wagisu, who have been all suspected to have been involved in this heinous crime of cannibalism and harvesting of organs.
Khalif stated that the suspects believed to be behind the killing and consumption of at least 8 children who are living in the makeshift shelters along a road reserve in Bandera.
All the suspects are from Uganda, from one community of Wagisu, and therefore we are taking these stern measures to establish their stay here and the activities that they are involved.
Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has said the government is enhancing partnerships with global tech firms to create more jobs opportunities for the youth. Speaking on Tuesday when he opened Huawei Leap Job Fair 2025 at the University of Nairobi, the DP said technology will play a major role in solving the world's problems. The DP said Kenya is working to address the challenges of youth unemployment through various interventions, including enabling access to digital jobs.
Youth unemployment continues to be significantly higher than the adult unemployment rate. In some countries, youth unemployment is 3 or even 4 times higher than adult unemployment. The ramifications of this trend are far-reaching, affecting financial stability, mental well-being, and societal cohesion, and that has serious ramifications on the development of our society. The next century is going to be driven by technology.
And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga.
This is Radio Generation.
Tuzungumze kwa hekima na heshima, tutulize nafsi, tupeane busara, tuwe na mazungumzo ya kujenga, tuelewane mimi na wewe, tusipoziba ufa tutajenga ukuta.
This is Radio Generation. In the beginning, there was morning radio. But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast. Curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor!
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights, Radio Generation.
Yes, indeed, this is Radio Generation. My name is Mongala Mbuvi, 88.8 in Nairobi. And if you're in Garissa, by the crew is there already. I'm talking about Bano Dor and a host of other individuals from Radio Generation. So I'm happy for you guys because they are goodies. Wamekuja na mazuri, wamekuja na mautamu.
Kuna mazawadi sana,
Kwa hivyo,
sana.
Ukiona gari la Radio Generation, jump on it and I can assure you, you will not regret it. But for now, Mongala Mbuvi is in studio.
Trisha, are you? Of course, I'm also here.
All right.
Yes.
We shall be having our guest in a short while and we shall be giving him a proper introduction. But for now, we can check out what is still happening on the papers so that we can conclude that particular story about, I think we were looking at the deaths that occurred, which is one of the biggest stories. Yes.
There's also a story about what Raila said. Yeah. What he said. You know, people are still calling him opposition leader. No, I feel it doesn't sit well. Do you?
He's in broad-based government. He's no longer.
He's no longer an opposition leader. Okay, this is what the newspaper said about dialogue, a referendum, the only way to lead, to end protest. This is as per Raila Amolo Odinga. This is what he says, that the opposition leader Raila Odinga has opposed an intergenerational national dialogue, by the way, as a long-term solution to the recurring deadly protests that have rocked the country in recent weeks. According to him, Kenya urgently needs an honest and inclusive conversation to prevent further unrest and save the country from descending into anarchy. The bombers of Kenya talks were a national dialogue, that is in quotes, an inclusive intergenerational national conclave that gave us our current constitution. It is time for another. he retreated on Tuesday, reinforcing his earlier message at the height of the protest. Remember, he gave out a brief a speech during Sabasaba, and actually he talked of this intergenerational conclave.
Right.
Yeah. And he's saying that is after is it the bombers of Kenya? That national dialogue that led to the push of the constitution that we are having. But now he said now we need an urgent one. So the question is, because he's saying that the dialogue and referendum, they are the only way to end the protests that we are witnessing in the country. Do you believe in that?
I have my own thoughts in regards to that, but the truth of the matter is, if we do not handle the protests differently, if we don't re-strategize, of course we are descending into anarchy and we are descending into lawlessness. So we just need to rethink and rejig this whole issue.
Okay, this dialogue thing has been so much in our country, but now we tend to ask ourselves at the end of the day, what is usually the outcome? Okay, this one, he said that it led to the constitution.
Right.
That is helping us. But now the question is, yes, it led to something. But that constitution, is it being followed? Or tutakuwa tunaishi tu tukifanya dialogues? Of course, we need an honest conversation.
Right.
Yeah. Regarding what is happening and seeing to get a solution.
The definition of dialogue in this country, for me, doesn't make sense. The definition that we usually say, dialogue, for me doesn't make sense. Yeah. Ile kuketi sasa, tunaketi, nani anaketi kwanza? Tutachagua nani aketi pale, na huyo mwenye anaketi hapo, yeye expertise yake ni gani kwa kuweko kwa hicho kiti?
And what do they usually come out with?
Exactly.
Now whatever they come out with from these dialogues,
we can't keep on having dialogue all the time. We've had dialogue after the post-election violence. That one was okay. We had dialogue in 2013 again, then we had dialogue in 2017. We also had dialogue in 2022. Mimi mambo ya dialogue sioni ki make sense anymore. Because at the end of the day, dialogue isaidiangi wa Kenya, inasaidianga a few people.
Yeah, by the way.
Yes.
Na unajua, it's usually costly for our country. Usually costly.
Very costly.
At the end of the day,
yes,
whatever comes out, my issue is it usually followed?
It is not,
because we have seen
that is why I'm saying there's no need for dialogue.
We have seen they did sit down also. That is a dialogue when they sat down with the UDA, that is ODM and UDA, and they, of course, they came up with a 10-point agreement there, which we are asking. Kulikuwa na vitu mob sana pale.
But wayua, kuna mtu aliketi kwa hichi kiti hapa, sikumbuki ni nani, but one of the guests alisema, why are we having dialogue yet we already have the constitution? What are we discussing in this dialogue that cannot be found in the constitution?
Reminds me of some family I went. They were looking for some shamba to buy, and it happened that one of their daughters is married by some, okay, let me not just be specific, but those people, when I went there, I was in their company, na kila kidogo mkiongea wanaitana, wanaenda kando, wanaongea wanarudi, kila mkiongea kidogo, like wanatoka tena kando, wanaenda wanaongea. So that is what basically is happening in our country. Kidogo watu wanatoka kando, wanaenda wanaongea, they come back and we continue with the same issues.
And that is why hata ukienda dowry negotiations, now that you've brought that up, fine, mnaweza keti msikize kila kitu mnaambiwa na the bride's family.
Yes.
See, after every point mnatoka
mnaenda kudiscuss,
wakisema point ya pili mnatoka mnadiscuss. No, sikizeni kila kitu, even if they have 11 things to say, then go once. Also, you guys discuss those 11 issues and come back and say, this is our response to this and this and this and this, and we are done with negotiations. So we've had dialogues in this country. You remember that time President Moi used to appoint a commission of inquiry, a commission of inquiry that never came up with anything.
Yes.
But it was a way of just quieting people down.
Committees katika nchi yetu, there are so many.
At even one point, at one point there was a commission of inquiry to look into these commissions of inquiry.
Yeah, I remember. And actually that was just the other day. Si kitambo sana.
So tuache hii story mingi ya dialogue. Tuko na constitution. Already constitution inasema kinafaa kufanyika. Wayo amekosea. Wayo kuna sheria ambayo alifaa kufuata, na kuna sheria ambayo itafanya nini, itamfunga. Kuna punishments kwa hiyo sheria. Mbuvi ameenda akatukanana kule, hate speech. Kuna sheria ya hate speech tayari. It is there. So there is no need of dialogue, national dialogue, dialogue to talk to the youth, dialogue to talk to Raila, dialogue to talk to Kalonzo, dialogue to talk to Gashagwa, another national dialogue to talk to the no, there's no need for dialogues.
You know, he's attributing the success of maybe the governments and so forth to the dialogues that he has been having, and actually of course he said from the dialogue ndo tulipata pale stories za hiyo constitution or whatever.
Raila was saying that we need to have a conclave to address the issues that the youth have brought up, but here's the truth of the matter. The whatever the youth have been agitating for, and it's not just the youth, it's the entire country. Whatever they have been agitating for, already it is provided for in the constitution. So even maneno ya dialogue, it's neither here nor there. Anyway, that's a conversation for another time, and perhaps we'll even ask our guest for today. We are joined by one Joshua Nyamori Odhiambo. He's a governance and policy expert, and today we just want to look at politics and the cost of living versus the common mwananchi. So Mr. Joshua, welcome to the station. This is Radio Generation. My name is Mungala Mbuvi, and my co-host here is Patricia Wayo.
Thank you. Mbuvi and Patricia, I'm most privileged
Karibu sana
to join you today.
Yes.
I listen to you, but I'd always been looking for an opportunity to meet.
Now you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. You know, you sit in the board of directors of the National Housing?
National Housing Corporation.
Yes, National Housing Corporation.
Yeah.
What is usually the work of a director who sits in all these commissions that we see? Is it like labor intensive, for lack of a better word?
It is. There's no public service that is not intensive. You see, corporations are government agencies that the government has set up to do what it is not cannot be efficiently done by ministries and departments. And probably because, for instance, the National Housing Corporation, it is necessary to act in a business-like manner, and government with its structures is not able to be quick enough, efficient enough, and effective enough.
Okay.
So they set up agencies. So these agencies must then have a governance, platform and a management platform. So it's separated into two. We have the chairman and the members, the directors of the board, who are then in charge of governance. They do policies, they approve strategies, they approve budgets, they do oversight, while the management executes the decisions of the board. Indeed, for a board, for a corporation to be successful, the board must be very busy.
All right.
Yes.
So that means also just within the board, you also come up with the policies that will guide the direction that the commission will take.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Definitely.
Okay, I'm interested with knowing what the National Housing Corporation, the connection that they have with the affordable houses that we're seeing the government doing for Kenyans.
Okay. One, it is important to appreciate the National Housing Corporation in one of the oldest corporations in the country. It is 70 years old. It was set up actually during the colonial days, majorly initially to supply housing to the white settlers. Okay. Civil servants. But as we approached the independence, there was need for the colonial government to provide housing to Africans who are their employees in the civil service. So you will find old estates built in the colonial days done by National Housing Corporation. Then as we got into 2000, then it was a board. It was not a corporation.
Okay.
And when we got into independence, the new government also recognized housing, especially in the urban areas, as a crisis. And so National Housing Corporation was then established in the 60s in the new independent government to be the principal arm of the government in delivery of housing. Majorly to its employees, but later to the general public in the urban areas. So you move around this country, most of the estates built in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s were built by the National Housing Corporation. Yeah. Now, you have asked its connection to the affordable housing program. Affordable housing program is a housing program, and therefore National Housing Corporation, under its mandate in the Housing Act, still has the mandate to do that. But the other thing is that National Housing Corporation is then recognized in the Affordable Housing Act as one of the entities that should be a recipient to resources coming from the Affordable Housing Board for purposes of fulfilling the affordable housing. That is why it is important to appreciate that one of the first projects that this President William Ruto launched, that is the Homa Bay Affordable Housing Program, which he handed over to the beneficiaries during Madaraka Day. It was actually developed by National Housing Corporation. National Housing Corporation is developing the projects in Olkalau, in Embu, and Kirinyaga. Yeah, and so we are part of the principal players,
right,
in delivery of the housing.
I like what you said earlier on in regards to the fact that initially the National Housing Corporation, when it was created by the white settlers, was to settle civil servants that were coming here on behalf of the colonial government.
Yes.
And also when the government took over the commission, that was still the same purpose, to provide housing for civil servants.
Yeah.
Affordable housing, is it still for civil servants, or this is for the general public? Just to be clear about this.
Then if you look at the history, if you allow me just to expand.
Right.
If you look at the history of provision of housing by government in Kenya, the colonial government provided housing to not to serve human rights, but majorly to facilitate its employees for the efficiency of government. It had nothing to do with us. So we continued living in shacks and
manyatas
and manyatas all over. And no one cared about housing. But the new government, if you remember, identified 3 problems that Kenyans were facing, and that was disease, poverty, and ignorance. And poverty, housing, lack of housing, has been identified as an element and a demonstration of poverty. And then lack of housing affects the health of citizens, but at the same time it does also affect the ability of children to be able to keep up with education. So it became then therefore a critical component of delivery of programs.
Right.
Now the new government, that is successive governments even before this government,
right,
have in their manifestos and national policies and programs always talked about housing. Okay, but there has been no credible program to deliver housing to Kenyans, especially to the poor Kenyans.
Okay.
What has happened is that over the years, yes, housing has been provided, but we have fallen short of meeting the demand. Okay, I think about 5 years ago, the estimate was that we need to have almost 250,000 new houses every year. We were hardly able to produce 30,000. Okay, and these 30,000 that were being produced for the higher level income levels. Okay, and they were being produced majorly by the private sector. They were expensive, but also the repayment period was too short.
Right.
So you needed to have a 5-figure salary to be able to get mortgage to build a house, and those mortgages are to be paid within 5 years or so.
And by 5-figure, we are talking about 10,000 shillings and above.
No, I'm talking about 100,000. See, that's 6 figure.
That's
6 figure.
Okay.
Yeah, so that it's difficult for anybody conventionally who earns less than 100,000 to be able to access proper mortgage to get a house to be able to pay within 5 years. Okay, so that you see that even as we have had development of housing in such an area like we are here today, the shacks and slums have been expanding. For every development area, there's a slum. I do not know which slum is next to us here, but there are slums everywhere.
Right.
Now, but so there was, yes, the supply side that supplied housing, but they only supplied to those who can afford. No one made credible efforts to sort out the demand side, so as to ensure that the ordinary person could demand and get. You see, demand is different from desire. You might desire housing, but if you are not able to pay for it, then economically your demand is zero. Okay, so the new constitution then required that housing be provided to all citizens. That is why Article 43 talks about housing as part of the socioeconomic rights. And so from 2010, the state was required by the constitution to ensure that everybody enjoys right to housing. Enjoying right to housing does not mean the government is providing you the house. It basically provides that the government ensures that everybody is housed, even the low level and downtrodden. The question was, where are we going to get the money to provide housing for these people? So this has been a debate in Kenya.
All right.
The previous governments, have attempted to, for instance, the Uhuru Kenyatta government attempted to introduce the housing levy, and you remember there was uproar, and then he withdrew it. The current president just revealed to us the other day why Uhuru Kenyatta withdrew it. He said that President Uhuru Kenyatta called him and asked him that wewe Ruto, wewe si uko na nyumba? And he said yes. Na mimi niko na nyumba. Yes. Mbona tunapigia kelele juu hizi mambo za nyumba? Tuachane nayo kabisa. And that is how they dropped it and made it voluntary.
Okay.
So then as we went into 2022 elections, both parties, that is Azimio and both sides, coalitions, Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, both committed to provide housing. Okay? And to find a financing mechanism to provide housing, especially for the poor.
Yeah.
And Azimio actually put in a percentage and said that they would charge, I think, 2% of salaries, gross salaries. And so President William Ruto then did something very bold and very difficult, very unpopular. I'm sure it is unpopular even with you guys as we sit here. And that is that he then asked Parliament to legislate and allow us to build a fund that should then fund these houses.
Okay.
So with that, we have solved a big problem. It is a painful sacrifice, very painful, to see in your slip every month that 1.5% is. But then, for the first time, then we have a fund, and this fund is used to build houses. There are several questions that are then asked. People ask that, why should I pay the money and then I am charged? Okay, we need to appreciate it is just a normal tax like any other tax, so that we build just like we pay all the other taxes. It's put in a pool, but specific for building houses. Once it builds houses, there are 3 categories of houses. Okay, these categories are: 1, social houses. Social houses are for the very poor, who are not able to access, people who earn less than 20,000 shillings, live in slums, live in Mabati houses. They probably pay 500 or 1,000 shillings as rent. They have no access to water, no access to electricity. So they are given these houses to continue paying at that same rate.
The
about
5,000.
About 1,000.
Okay.
Between 1,000 and 3,000, because that is what they have been paying. Because if you charge 10,000 per month, then they will not afford. And the period has been expanded from the normal, mortgage, which is 3 to 5 years, to I think it is 25 years. Okay, and it is say that if you if you retire and go home, your child can inherit that house and continue. Even if you die midway, your child can continue paying that until they reach the 25th year. So that becomes affordable to the very poor.
Okay.
And then there is the affordable housing for normal people between, I think, the salary of 20 to about 150. I can't remember the figures right now.
Right.
And so that's for normal Kenyan earning average income should be able to afford that. Okay, then that the repayment is also affordable, and then there are the market rates, so that you and I, who may be earning more than 150,000, can still buy from that, and also buy it over a long period of time. The president recently announced that he has asked the board and he has asked parliament to actually tweak the law a little, to not only allow, because some people have complained that I don't want government houses, I don't want to stay in a government project, I want to buy my own house at my own location. So the president recently announced that he has asked the board to tweak their regulations to ensure that Kenyans can access a loan. Those who pay the levy can access a loan from the board of up to 5 million, so that they can buy their own houses. Okay, so what we have done, I'm a student of human rights law.
Right.
I'm a lawyer and a student of human rights law, and I've been an activist for socioeconomic rights of Kenyans for many years. What Kenya has done is a unique, solution that many countries are now studying. Okay, and for many years we will study this.
Well,
yes,
I've been looking at the feasibility of this whole project, especially in the what is the legal standing of the ownership of those houses now that it is built on a government land. Na umeenda pale umepatiwa nyumba. There's also another concern I've gotten from listeners outside there who are asking, like, for example, those houses are so high. Unapata ni ghorofa ya so high. Of course there are lifts. Then the question was, because we have seen before the government managing houses, and we saw the state at which government houses have always been, by the way. So people were asking, like, for how long? Because I understand some of the houses kuna lift. How long is now the government getting involved? And after the 25 years, what happens?
okay. Yeah, so these are very legitimate questions, and then so let me try and answer them. Now, about the ownership, the fact that these are public land. Public land is not owned by somebody in heaven. It's owned by the public. What we are doing on public projects, okay? In the US, they are called projects. Okay. Now, public projects, the whole project will continue to be public land. So the government has what is called the mother title. Okay, but we have what is called Sectional Properties Act. I think it was 2018 that was developed, so that previously an owner of a flat could only give you a sublease, but right now you can get actually a title, a lease
For your house.
Okay, so that becomes your title. So what is going to happen, and what is actually happening, is that a framework is built in which the original lease remains a government property, protected as public land, but within it, then sectional properties titles are then created for people to have sectional properties. Then for the common areas, okay, for the common areas, that is the corridors, the swimming pool if it is there, the loans and so on, the parking, we then have common ownership, so that so long as you buy a house, you have a share of ownership of those areas and access. And then, so the law provides that the developer, and that is now the government, would form what is called a corporation. Okay, a corporation is like a maintenance company. And then this corporation, people would buy shares. So long as you pay for your house, you get a share. So what the shareholders would become the general meeting of shareholders, okay, that meet regularly to make decisions on how to manage. Then the law requires the corporation to then appoint a manager to manage the development, the property. And this manager will be paid by the owners, so that in the intervening period, in the 25 years, the government can actually collect for the tenants these proceeds. During that period, they start involving the purchasers and therefore the tenants in the actual management, and slowly cede responsibility in management to them as they build their capacity, so that once they have all paid, then the government would cede their role, and the owners would take over. Okay.
Now this is the owners are the residents of this estate.
Yes.
After 25 years.
After 25 years, the government would completely walk out. But the entire, no one can, sell the entire property. It will still be owned by the public, but specifically for the interest of the people who are there.
Okay.
Just the way we own, the public own schools, but the key stakeholders are the parents and the children and the teachers who are there. So that's one. Then you talked about the issue of the high rise. Definitely it's a challenge. Housing is a cultural issue. So there's a challenge that, me, I'm used to staying in low-level houses. Me, I'm used to staying in a shack. Me, I'm used to staying in a roof, grass roof house.
A manyata.
A manyata, yeah. Yeah, but you see, the challenge of access to land will continue being a big challenge in Kenya. You know that we have a population bulge. For you may need to have just looked at the Mandamanos to see that we have a new phenomenon in this country. We gave birth in the last few years to so many children. A friend of mine was making a joke that the problem is a problem that we as adults created, because those are our kids, and it's like within the last 20 so many years, we have given birth to so many children. So because of that, government land, that's public land on which these houses can be built, is limited. But even private land is limited. Very few of us are able to buy land. In such an area as we are today, I cannot afford it. I don't know whether you guys have afforded to buy houses next to your working places. It's extremely expensive.
Yes.
So because of that, we must think of the future. If we start building mansionettes all over, it will not be able to supply housing to the public.
Everyone.
Yeah. So we must build going up. What we must do is to build strong corporations and with management systems, so that those corporations are then able to manage those houses. People then complain that, government properties are not properly managed. Okay? Now, that's a social problem. It's not a government problem. And we have to sort it out. I grew up in Kisumu. I don't know where you guys grew up.
Nairobi.
Yes. I grew up in Kisumu, and I keep telling the young people in Kisumu, I grew up in the days when the Municipal Council of Kisumu had a truck that moved around collecting takataka from every house. And we would put bins outside and they collect it. And then the public health officer would be moving around to check if you cleaned your bin after. Okay? I lived in Kisumu when the political leadership of the local authority would actually mobilize us for cleanup of the estates, to unclog the trenches.
Yes.
When we had health environment clubs in school to plant trees. Okay, so what am I saying? That the state of your neighborhood,
yes,
is a reflection of the social cohesion, organization, and sense of duty amongst the people who stay there. So what we need to do, as we develop, as we are building brick and mortar, we need to then deal with the social aspects of housing, so that as we move somebody from a slum where he had no sewerage, he had no toilet he had no water, and he had no electricity, we culturalize them into the new environment and work with them to develop the policies and principles that they will follow as they move forward, so that these become community rules. They should not become government regulations. Because if they become government regulations, Kenyans have this attitude of resisting. And so anything the government wants must be
resisted. Well, I'm interested to understand now the feasibility of maybe collecting the rent, because is it going to become another issue like the fund, which this fund that the president had come with, and it collapsed on the way. So I'm looking at we have so many people who have owned these government houses, and with time wapata mtu anafaa kulipa hata 2,000 kwa mwezi, but they do not pay hata for 10 years. Unapata hiyo pesa bado iko pending. We just saw the other day
hustler fund money.
Yes, the hustler fund got lost somewhere.
Again, that is a social problem. Yeah, we have a problem as a society where we don't want to pay our dues. Okay, so I work in the National Housing Corporation. If you look at our arrears in terms of rent, they're running into billions of shillings. Okay, so you collecting these arrears has become
what are some of the reasons Kenyans are not paying that money?
I think partly we have a bad habit of not paying.
So needed
because
to
the rents that were collected by local, National Housing Corporation built houses and gave to local authorities. So local authorities to collect the money and then pay National Housing Corporation for the cost of the houses.
Okay. When you say local authorities, when we had municipalities. Okay.
But now counties have taken over. Okay. Now the issue is that a number of people who stayed in them did not pay rent. But there was also the bad habit amongst those who collected the rent, that a number of local authorities then collected the money but did not remit to the National Housing Corporation. Okay, and a lot of these monies were then wasted in corruption and so on and so forth. Yeah, so we have a lot to do as a nation in changing attitude. That you must pay your dues, you must pay your debts, you must be a proud man and a proud mother, that your children are living under a roof that you provide. And the government is making it easier by ensuring that you don't pay commercial rates, you pay affordable rates. Okay. Now, in this particular case, the issue is that for the building of the structures, the money is deducted from salary. Now, from the people who will then own them, there must be flexible ways of paying, because there are those who are working who can then sign a check off from their employees. But then there is a mamamboga and boda guy and a fisherman who must get a way that works for them, and the law and the policies allow that a system be worked that works for them. So that, you see, just like in Hustler Fund, there are those who don't pay, but there are those who pay daily. They take it in the morning, they do business, they take 1,000, do business, and pay back in the evening. Okay, so those are systems that I believe the Affordable Housing Board is working on, to ensure that everybody can have access, everybody can afford.
Okay. Yeah. I have a question. You said earlier on that I can pay up until, in case God forbid, I'm unable to pay, maybe I've passed on.
Yeah.
My child or someone, maybe a next of kin, can take over. What if I have none of those? What if I don't have a child, I don't have a next of kin, I am just the way I am?
Yeah. Now, in the law of property, it provides, there is normally there's a law of succession, that is Cap 160 laws of Kenya, that was enacted in 1962. It provides that when somebody dies, the immediate beneficiaries in his estate are the children and the spouse. Okay, if he has no child and he has no spouse, then there is the next immediate family members, and that is the parents, the brothers. Then you move to the uncles. Okay, so this it's called the level of consanguinity.
Okay.
The levels of consanguinity goes to the 6th pyramid, after that sixth circle, if no relative can be found at the sixth level, that those would be distant relatives, then the term we use in law is that the property escheats to the government.
Okay.
Escheats to the government is that the property
goes back.
Okay. To the government, because it is in public interest that if no relative can be found in 6 levels, mama ya nyanya ya nyanya yako, nobody can, then it is just right that property then is owned by all Kenyans.
Okay.
So it goes back to the Kenyans, probably as part of their. I suspect, I've not checked, but I think it should be taken by the unclaimed assets.
Okay.
Right.
Just a quick one. There's this during the 2025-2026 the finance bill. There's that clause that is talking about the scrapping of the allowance that was given for affordable the people developers, that tax aspect that has been removed. It was an allowance that were given to ensure that people are building affordable houses. Okay, how do you think this is going to affect the supply of houses in Nairobi, because we've talked of the high demand of houses, and again, how is it going to affect maybe the cost of the affordable houses that we are looking forward to?
An allowance that was removed, I may need to get specifics of that. Maybe if you call me back again, I will check it out.
Yes.
And then I'll come back and talk about it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So still on the matter of succession, in terms of just taking up, because I want to imagine that some of these issues might arise in the 25 years that you have allocated me for this house, for the payment rather of the ownership of this particular property. Say you find my child, or you find my cousin who would probably have been my next of kin, and they want nothing to do with this property. They probably didn't even know that I was staying in this particular place. So what happens? Will they still continue paying, yet they had no idea that this thing was going on?
When you die,
your
beneficiaries inherit both the assets and the obligations.
Right.
And the obligations are not to them as individuals, but to them as the administrators or the beneficiaries of your estate. And that's why the law provides that when you die, there is a probate and administration process that is taken in court. Probate and administration process is that if you have a will, then that will has to be taken to court for the court to determine that it is a valid will. Did you sign it willingly? Were you conscious when signing it? Is it clear of the intention to devolve your property?
Was I under duress?
Were you under duress? You remember the Kirima case in which part of the family claimed that their stepmother had locked their father in and denied them access.
Right.
I mean, we have had such cases. Was it a forgery? Or if you had sometimes we think we will not die, but I'll keep telling my friends that get your lawyer to write for your will. You might think that you still have 30 years. You might die that evening. You might not wake up. You might be knocked by a vehicle. What happens to your property? But the law provides for what to do when you have not written a will. And that is called, in law we call it intestate. Intestate is that you have died without leaving a will. So if you have not left a will, then your beneficiaries, would be beneficiaries, should then petition court. They file a petition in court, telling the court that so and so died, and he left this property, and these are the beneficiaries. These are the family members, and then the court would litigate it. And once the court is sure, if there's any objection, there could be disputes. The court will resolve those disputes and then determine who gets what. Now, when the court is deciding that, then the court is required to then also know what are the list of properties and what are the liabilities. Then the liabilities have to be dealt with before the property is then handed over. So if you had a liability worth 5 million and you have property worth 10 million, then the creditors must be paid.
Okay.
Okay. So in this case of affordable housing, if you for instance die, and the house was worth 6 million, but you have paid 3 million, and so your children would do succession. During succession, the court would want to know, so who will pay this 3 million?
3 million, yeah.
Then they will say that, oh, my father owned one property and my mother owned one property and we are 2 children. So whoever is taking over and benefiting will continue paying.
Okay.
Okay? Because if you don't do that, then the government should then resell that property to get that money.
Okay.
Okay? So if you are not interested, then you see, when you die and your child are not interested, you see, like I think it was Biwott, Nicholas Biwott's daughter, who says she's not interested. Okay, then the rest of the beneficiaries can divide.
Okay.
If there are no beneficiaries, it will move through the level of consanguinity. When it gets to the 6th and there is no beneficiary, it's a cheat to the government.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if they find my child and my child is told, so baba yako alikuwa amelipa hii 3 million.
Yeah.
So there's 3 more that needs to be paid. Then my child says, my father didn't even tell me that he was maybe we are stretched for some whatever reason. And then she says or he says, I'm not interested in whatever my dad was doing.
Yeah.
So na hapa niko na deni ya 3 million imebaki. So the government will assume that debt and that's it.
As I've told you, the law of succession still allows other relatives.
Yeah. Assuming they don't find anyone else.
If they don't find any relatives, the asset would be taken to the unclaimed asset.
Okay.
And definitely, if there's nobody to pay the debt, the government would assume the debt.
That debt. Okay. That's what I needed to understand that, because someone will be like, so I'm paying this for 25 years and probably, I have no one to leave this place to. Me, I'm okay just living in that Manyata. I was paying 1,000 shillings until the day I die.
Or somebody, the father also struggles to take him to school.
Yeah.
And he thinks that that's a low-level area he cannot live in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can abandon it. That is why we have the law on unclaimed assets.
Okay.
It will go to government.
What is the procedure then of getting these homes? Because we have seen, yes, they have been constructed.
Yeah.
Are they open to someone like myself and Patricia, or is it open to the people of that particular area? Who is open to getting these homes?
Every Kenyan who has an ID can apply for a house. It's only that you can only get one house. But when you apply for the house, if you want to go to get the house, you go to the internet. I've just forgotten the
e-citizen.
Boma
Yangu.
Yeah, for the internet it's called Boma Yangu, but there's also a mobile hashtag.
Okay.
What is it called?
Code. Yes.
A USSD.
Yeah, but for USSD. But for internet is Boma Yangu.
It's 832.
832.
Yeah, star 832 hash.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when you go to Boma Yangu, then or you go to star 832, you are then given instructions on how to register. You register by making a deposit. The last I checked, I think it was 200 shillings.
Deposit,
to make a deposit so that you are registered. So once you have registered, you are put in the list of potential beneficiaries. So then from there, I think there is you are asked to explain the kind of houses you want, your level of income, where you want the houses, and so on. For instance, if you are in Kisumu, you can say I want a house in Kisumu. If you're in Nairobi, I want a house in Nairobi. And then once you're put in those lists, then you see the demand is huge, but the supply progresses over a period of time. Okay, like the president says that there are about 240,000 houses. There are about 200,000 projects that are ongoing, but at different levels. So as they get completed, I think that amongst the people who have been verified to fit within the category of those particular houses, whether they are social houses, affordable houses, or market houses, they would then benefit according to the immediate, those who have immediate need. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I am still yet to get. You see, like I said, we have the Affordable Housing Board, which is a
Alright.
different entity for National Housing. So National Housing Corporation is a developer, develops
Okay.
and then hands over.
Okay.
That board of techs. So they have put him in a system to ensure that transparently these houses are then given to the beneficiaries as they come, and you can continue paying. If at some point you feel that I have paid these houses for the last 3 years and I've not gotten a house, and in any case I am moving to another town and I have other alternatives, you can withdraw your money.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, so that money is available to you.
Can I get a transfer? Maybe I had applied for
You
Nairobi.
can. You can.
Then Radio Generation decides I'm going to work in their office in Kisumu.
Yes.
Can I now go back and say, hey, kuna vile sasa mtanipeleka Kisumu?
You can.
Okay.
And I think those are the systems that the new board is working on. Yeah.
According to the website, I can see here they're saying 400 projects in the pipeline. So when you say 400 projects, does this mean 400 houses?
No.
Or like 400 estates?
No. You see,
Yeah.
like Mukuru, the government allocated 1,080, I think, or something like that, houses. But the total number of houses that are being built there are 13,000 houses. So that's one project. Yeah. You move to another area, you'll get probably 8,000 houses, 2,000 houses.
Okay.
Yeah, so 400 projects
Yep.
refers to the number of projects. The number of projects
All
that are
over the
ongoing.
country.
All over the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've already mentioned how we're going to maintain these houses and make sure nyasi imekatwa hapa nje, the pool stays clean if there's is there a swimming pool though? Or it's in the pipeline.
There will be market houses.
Okay.
There will be market houses, so that even somebody who wants to buy a house at 100 million should at some point be. But the priority right now is
Okay.
to provide housing for the basic salaried or income guys, and most of these those neighborhoods,
Right.
they're more interested in getting shelter.
Yes.
Yeah, but you have heard there's something that has become, also very contentious. When, the president said that we are not only providing housing, but we are also using these funds to build health facilities,
Social amenities.
social amenities, the roads, the markets, and so on. And then people will say, no, our money was only supposed to build houses. But the issue, the house, in human rights definition, is not a structure. It's not just a room. The house should be a livable environment. And livable environment will need a near market. We need a near school, especially for the
children.
young children at kindergarten
A
level.
hospital.
Yes. We need a hospital, we need a road. Okay? Because we can't go and build, an estate in a bush and you can't access it. Okay? So, in my view, these are a swimming pool, maybe a social amenity, but that community may need. So that is why these projects are preceded by feasibility study. And the feasibility study, there's questions to the residents.
Yes.
What kind of amenities will you require?
Okay.
Yeah.
We've seen estates such as Pipeline, the way they're so congested. Sunlight barely gets into the houses. People are hanging their clothes precariously just outside. Children don't have spaces to play football or whatever games they would like to play. We hope that we won't see these kinds of things with the affordable housing in the name of we want to ensure as many people as we can are housed, but they don't have enough circulation of oxygen or air. They do not have enough spaces for their children to play and so on and so forth.
Part of the reason why the government is doing these houses is what we call intervening in the market. Okay. Before I studied law, I studied economics.
Right.
And say that when you leave the environment as a free market, where the owners of capital can do anything they want, they would provide the people with only what they think is right for the people, and only a certain category. That is why proper houses are only available for the rich. And for the poor, they build the kind of things you see in Pipeline, or the houses that have been coming down every other day in Nairobi and other urban areas, because they simply want to milk money out of these guys. Okay, so when government then builds the houses, it will be a competition to the private sector. these houses are supposed to be properly done according to proper standards, international standards, and so that it is an example, but also the private owners know that if they don't build properly, there are better government houses that people can move into. Okay, then they will also help in depressing the rents, because if government houses are available to own at a cheaper rate than the private sector is providing his shoddily done house, then people would prefer to get in to pay government, to own government houses rather than that. Okay. So it will force the private sector to build better houses,
right,
and to reduce the rents.
All right. Yeah. So we're going to take a short break, for the news. But when we return, we shall be looking at the deeper issue that also is plaguing a lot of Kenyans right now. Actually, I think every Kenyan, which is the cost of living, how we got here, and perhaps how we can get out of here. So that conversation definitely coming up, and we shall touch on the politics as well. Yeah. It would be very unfortunate if we let you go without having listened to you as as a governance expert in that particular area, and as a lawyer as well. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, that is Joshua Odhiambo. He is a governance expert. He's also a lawyer, but he's also a director in the National Housing Commission. So that conversation definitely taking place in a short while. Don't go too far. We'll be right back.
This is Radio Generation. Radio Generation.
It's 8 o'clock.
The sound is fine, pump it up, turn it high, all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. A family in Taita Taveta County is seeking justice. This is after their king was allegedly brutally murdered by her husband Victor Otieno alongside an accomplice at a home in Siaya County in June 2025. The family noted that the late Dorothy Wuganga had been married for 23 years and she had been in a volatile marriage where she had been subjected to numerous episodes of domestic violence. The suspect is currently in police custody, awaiting a mental evaluation to determine whether or not he is fit to stand trial. According to Gudila Magema, the deceased sister said it was a hard-hill task before the investigation commenced.
Before yesterday, we were not happy with the investigation, the way they were being handled. And at a moment, tulifika mahali tukasikia give up. But with what happened yesterday, at least we have a strength. Na tunaamini ya kwamba kutakuwa na more changes now that different instructions were given. So tuna imani ya kwamba investigations zitafanyika kwa uwazi.
The family is now seeking justice for their king, who was just 47 years with 3 children, and hoping that they will soon be given the body of the late Dorothy for a decent burial.
Tunauliza kama family, because ni kisa ambacho kimetu sadden sana to realize that dada yetu si kujiua. Kulingana na postmortem, alikufa kwa njia nyingine, but hakukufa maji. The head injury ndio ili cause the death. So sisi ni kulilia haki iweze kutendeka kwa dada yetu.
The case will be heard again on the 21st of July 2025. President William Ruto has expressed Kenya's commitment to combat the escalating global climate crisis. He stressed that Kenya is fully committed to the principles of sustainable development and climate resilience. He made the remarks after breaking ground for the construction of the dual headquarters of the Global Center on Adaptation at the Kenya School of Government in Lower Kabete, Nairobi on Tuesday. The president said the institution will be built at a cost of 1.7 billion Kenya shillings at no cost to the government.
I remember when I visited the floating office in Rotterdam, and I did make a commitment on the behalf of the people and government of Kenya, and in my very strong belief that we have solutions that we can offer. And though we are suffering the effects of climate change, we do not want to be just victims. We want to be part of crafting solutions and crafting a future that all of us can live in.
Sarah Wairimu will remain in custody after the High Court in Kibera denied her second attempt to be released on bond in the ongoing murder case of Dutch businessman Tob Cohen. The court made the ruling after finding that the circumstances surrounding her case had not changed enough to justify granting her bail. While delivering the ruling on Tuesday, Lady Justice Diana Mochache said Wairimu, who's accused of killing her husband in 2019, will continue to be held at the Langata Women's Prison. This will be in force until the defense can show a change in the situation that will justify a review of the earlier decision. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has opposed what he calls the unilateral higher trade tariffs imposed on his country by the US. US President Donald Trump announced on Monday that he will subject imports from South Africa to a new 30% tariff from 1st of August. It is the only country from sub-Saharan Africa that Trump singled out in his announcement, reflecting his strained relationship with Ramaphosa's government. All the evidence so far suggests Portuguese footballer Diogo Jota was driving when his car crashed on a Spanish motorway and he was probably speeding, say police. The 28-year-old Liverpool player was killed alongside his brother Andrea Silva when their Lamborghini car had suspected tire blowout in northern western Zamora province early last Thursday. Spanish authorities said at the time the car had apparently been overtaking on the A52 motorway near Palacios de Sanabria when it left the road and burst into flames. The accident happened 11 days after Jota had married his long-term partner Ruth Cardoso in Portugal. And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning. I'm Winnie Maga.
This is Radio Generation.
Tuzungumze kwa hekima na heshima, tutulize nafsi, tupeane busara, tuwe na mazungumzo ya kujenga, tuelewane mimi na wewe, tusipoziba ufa tutajenga ukuta.
Morning radio. But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast. Curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey. Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights. Radio Generation.
Yes, indeed, this is Radio Generation. My name is Mungala Mbuvi. I'm with Patricia Wayoa, but also we are with Joshua Nyamori Odhiambo. He's a governance and policy expert, and he sits at the corporation that is the National Housing Corporation. He's a director there. In the previous hour, we were just talking about the whole affordable housing issue. He has elaborated it, and I think I've understood a lot of things that perhaps were left out. In terms of, just addressing it to the public. I don't necessarily agree with everything about it, but at least tumeelewa. Kulikuwa na maswali nilikuwa nayo na sasa nimeelewa.
So you're planning now to go and register for some house?
For a house. Let me leave it to other Kenyans who need it more than I do. Mimi niko sorted.
No, but he said everybody needs this.
I only need one house. If I can't own 3 houses, I'll never live in all 3.
Okay.
Yeah, one house is
okay.
It's not compulsory for you to have a house.
Yeah, okay, it's not a must also.
It's a right
yes.
for you to have a house.
Yes.
But not compulsory.
Yeah, but I mean, I think any Kenyan who wants, you've said as long as you're above 18 years of age, dial *832# tumeona hivyo, or you can go to Boma Yangu on the website and still do the same. You can go to a cyber, waambie wakusaidia kuregister huko. Na I think amesema ukiwa na 200 or thereabout
you register.
Yes. No, you make a deposit. This is a deposit. You deposit to actually now start paying for your house.
You register with 200. I'm telling you from experience.
Oh, you've registered for the house. Kumbe tunaketi hapa na house owner.
I'm telling you from experience.
I think she's recouping her 1.5% housing levy.
Yeah, of course. If you being deducted the housing levy, it's important. And you also can sit down and evaluate yourself. You need a house somewhere. And
at the end of the day anyway, you can also take it for your children. It doesn't have to be for yourself. Wachia wale wengine.
Okay.
So thank you very much, Joshua, for gracing this studio. Patricia has a burning issue. She was just telling me about it. So Patricia, the floor is yours.
Well, even before I get into the issue of public participation, because I think it is one of the go-to solutions that we are remaining with, by the way, for whatever is happening in our country. Maybe we can just look at what is happening in our country right now in terms of the protests and so forth. Are we justified for this protest?
You know, I grew up as an activist. I spent very many years. I always say I started activism right in primary school. I'm this
defiant child.
Yes, I was. It's called around a square peg in a round hole. Yeah, and in secondary school, students called me the students' advocate because I would stand up and challenge authority. I went to university and became a student leader for 2 years, between second year and fourth year. And then I came out and I got into youth activism. I was very active in building youth networks in Kisumu and championing for environment rights. I walk into some park every time I'm in Kisumu, and I'm very proud that it's called Taifa Park. I'm sure if you Google it on the internet,
I saw how you fought for it.
Yes. If we didn't stand for it, it would be a concrete jungle right now because somebody wanted to put up a mall there. It's a park that we grew up in. And so I was able to work with my colleagues to mobilize the general public in Kisumu, not only to protest through demonstrations, but also to undertake an economic boycott of the properties of the beneficiary, who was the richest industrialist in the western part of the country, to boycott their bread, their soap, everything they sold, and they had to come up and say, "Hey, tumeachana na hiyo kitu," okay, because it's eating into our profits. But we then threatened the government that we are going to call on the public to stop paying taxes. Okay, market owners, and we mobilize the shopkeepers to stop stocking goods from. So I am an activist. All my life I've been an activist. When I look at free primary education, I participated in activism. The constitutional review process, I was a member of the youth that supported NCEC and other movements. So I believe in activism that people in authority must be pushed. I still do it, but now I do it in court as a lawyer. So if you look at my portfolio, you will find that I am either representing, the Kibos Nubian community whose homes, 3,500 families, their homes were flattened, so I had to go to court. And now we are at the Supreme Court. We've defeated the Kenya Railways two times, and now they have appealed to the Supreme Court. I believe we'll still defeat them. I was in court the other day with the Kisumu County government for the exorbitant land rates that they have just set and introduced, and I got an order to stop them from implementing the new land rates. So now I've told Kisumu people, don't pay. If somebody forces you to pay, come to me. I'll take you to I'll take that. Court. And those are things I'm doing pro bono. I was in court yesterday, actually, where I'm asking the court to commit the city manager and the county secretary to civil jail for, allocating lanes that are access roads to neighborhoods, to their friends, to put up kiosks and so on and so forth. So I am still an activist. Okay, and I will continue being an activist. The question then, I think that let
me rephrase it again. Yes, Are we justified to do protests the way we are doing?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get to, and and I like that question. That activism is important. The question is, what's the kind of activism, what's the objective, and what's the method. Okay, I am a trained, active, non-violent campaigner, and I took time during my days in activism to try and train the core team that we worked with. But I try to watch what is happening now. It is not what we did. Okay, because to be an activist, you must have a certain objective that you want to achieve on something that you believe should be done and for the interest of the public. So that should be very clear. So we normally call that purification stage, where we crystallize our objective and ensure that we are not doing it because somebody has sponsored us. Okay? Then secondly, we ask ourselves, who are we? And who do we want to get involved? And we did that before the internet. So we would go to, for instance, when we were at the university, we would walk from halls of residence to halls of residence or lecture halls and talk to, identify a leader there and mobilize those people around that leader. Then when we went back to, for instance, Kisumu City, and I've also been involved in activism in Nairobi, it was you go to neighborhoods and identify neighborhood leaders and then let the neighborhood leaders organize. I give you the example of Taifa Park. Once we woke up and we found that the park was flattened, and we asked, who has done this? They were told that, there's this rich guy, he wants to put up concrete. He wanted to put up a mall. Here. It's in the middle of the city, and he's too rich. You can't fight him. We asked ourselves, can we take him to court? I was not a lawyer at that time. As I told you, I've studied other things before I studied law. And we were told that, the guy buys court.
Okay.
Yeah, no advocate in Kisumu will present you because most of them work for him.
Okay.
Police would not help you. We tried to petition the DC and the local authority, but they were all hostile. Then we realized that, this thing, we are alone. So what we did was we looked for the stakeholders. So I looked for the leader of the informal sector, the boda. I looked for a leader, then I went to the neighborhoods and got neighborhood leaders. Then we got leaders of, bunges, in every neighborhood.
Bunge la Mwananchi.
So we got together a meeting of about 30 people representing a cross section of the city. And I'm giving you this example so that young people can learn from what needs to be done.
Okay.
So then we discussed and agreed that it was critical. That's a public space that we must protect. Then the 30 chose leadership. So we had a leadership of, I think, 10 chosen out of these 30 that agreed that was then mandated to be the thought leaders and to be the representatives. Okay. Then from there, we then had the 10 lead the 30 to go and do sector and neighborhood mobilization. So we would go to a neighborhood, for instance, Nyalenda,
right,
and call a public meeting at Nyalenda. Tell them, all of you guys have access and normally use Taifa Park. It is no more. And it is important that we protest about it. So is it possible for you to organize yourselves so that on such a day, we will start the demonstrations? Join us at such a time. Okay? And we organize them, and we had, we organized them into platoons of 20. Every 20 had a leader. So that we had a multi-level leadership from the 10 to the 30.
Right.
To the neighborhood that I think we had about 100 representatives of the various neighborhoods. And then in every neighborhood, these guys had 20 people amongst them. So that we had access to about 10,000, I think 10,500 and something people that we had in a register with their phone numbers. The technology, the technology then, there was no X-Space, there was no social media, was SMS. We didn't have WhatsApp. So we got access to something on the internet for bulk SMS. So we would then send updates on bulk SMS.
Okay.
So on the day when we were supposed to do the demo, when we went to the place we were supposed to start the demo on, we found that policemen had barricaded the place because this guy was very influential. So that was 6:30 in the morning. The demo is supposed to start at 8. So that's us, what do we do? But because we had envisaged that such a thing would happen, what we simply did was, and we had prepared our people with plan A and plan B. We said, we simply sent a coded message, move from plan A to plan B, which police could not understand what plan B was. Okay, the plan B was abandon the demo because we had heard that hired goons had been lined up along the routes, and police would beat us up and so on and so forth. Plan B was that all of you converge at Taifa Park. When we converge at Taifa Park, and these are important for young people to learn how to deal with such situations. When we converge at Taifa Park, these guys got to know that we were converging there when we had almost 6,000 people already at the Taifa Park.
All right.
But they were coming as groups, organized groups, not as a mob. Okay. Now, when the DC then walked there, I still remember, he's a friend of mine nowadays. He's retired. When he moved there with lorries of anti-riot, the APs had just gotten the new anti-riot gear. You remember the scary anti-riot gear? Yeah, and they jumped from their lorries, in a very scary way.
Yes.
But they were surprised that people were not running away. Okay, so the DC came and it was very fiery, and I told the people, kindly sit down. And because they were organized people, they sat down. I told them, stand up. They stood up. Sit down again. Because I wanted to show the DC that I'm in command.
Okay.
I am a leader. Okay. So I told them to start singing, and the DC was surprised they were singing one song. And then I told them that this is our DC, and they all started saying this is our DC. Then I told them, DC, I know you are annoyed with us, but give me 2 minutes. We are the citizens. We are demonstrating. We have come here. We will do a rally and a concert here the whole day. And you see, these are border people. These are people from the neighborhoods. They are not a mass. They are not violent. You remember this town, and that was around 2009. And you see, Kisumu had been violent in 2008. Told them, we are the people who were violent in 2008. We have opted to be non-violent
today.
Wow.
Today, to express ourselves. So this will continue. But if you think we have committed an offense, I volunteer to be arrested.
Okay.
Okay. Then the crowd answered that the offense Nyamori has committed, we have also committed.
So arrest all of us.
We are prepared to be arrested. And then I told the DC, please go and tell the OCS to open up cells enough for all of us. We are now 6,000 and more are still coming. And then tell the courts to tell them to prepare charge sheets for all of
6,000 people.
Let them take the fingerprints of all of us.
6,000.
Yes. Tell them, the magistrates, to prepare to take pleas from 6,000 people. We are not going to ask for bail. So please send a message to Kodiaga prisons that they are getting 6,000 remandees or more.
Yes.
Remandees. And we'll be there for the next 2 weeks until we come back to
the court.
I started saw the mouth of the DC, trembling. Okay. Then he said, no, we are not going to arrest you. We will allow you to proceed. We proceeded and held the event. So that was one. Another day, we had prepared to do a demo. Then, as we set up the sound system and all that, not the demo, but a concert on the same land, then we are informed that Raila and Honorable Raila Odinga and Mwai Kibaki will be in town because they were going to attend a funeral for the late Onongo Mamo, the former minister.
Okay.
So they were having lunch in town. So it has been decided that no other event can take place because the hotel where they were going to have the lunch was less than 300 meters from the park. And we told them that we are going to do it.
Like it or not.
You like it or not. If you want, we will lie here, beat us to pulp. Okay? But we are not moving. Because we had trained our people on what to do. We held the event and Raila and Kibaki were about 300 meters away.
Right.
And that rally, that concert and rally helped us. Because from what now that I gathered, the PPO who had in the morning been pressurizing me to call off the demo.
Right.
Then in the evening called me, and I went to his office, and he asked me, Nyamori, lakini wewe we ni kisirani za kabisa.
Bad news.
Yeah. Then he asked me, so I'm giving this example for young people to learn.
Right.
He told me, you have succeeded. And I asked him, what do you mean I've succeeded? That the president asked, hiyo kelele yenye iko town ni nini? Because they could, from the sound system, they could hear us chanting. And then he was told that actually the politicians in Kisumu said, nisi huyu kijana Nyamori anapiga kelele na vijana hapa. Then he asked, wanataka nini? And they were with Honorable Raila Odinga. The issue was that they're complaining that some park has been stolen. Then he was like, kama shamba ni yao, mbona msiwapatie? Nani huyo aliiba hiyo shamba?
Yes.
Okay?
And just like that.
And then, Honorable Orengo, who was the Minister for Land, was ordered to the following, that was a Saturday, to on Monday issue a title back to the Municipal Council of Kisumu and to give a caveat that land will never be transferred back to a private hand again.
Okay.
So we went back and planted trees there. And you see, at that time, we had also been undertaking economic boycott.
Right.
By simply not buying. Those guys gave up that land. So what am I saying? If you look at what we were doing, and the fact that on 25th of June this year, mothers of victims of in 2024
yes,
gave a notice that they were going to undertake a procession to leave a petition. And they were allowed. But in the middle of that, somebody else then announces that on that day we are going to occupy State House. So on social media. And another one announces that we will occupy Parliament. Ruto must go. We are going to make Kenya ungovernable. The question is, how do we ensure that these mothers enjoy their right to protest, to picket, to deliver petition,
right,
without being interfered by these people? How do we ensure that a peaceful protest is not taken care over by goons who then attack a police station and burn a police station? Now, as a student of constitutional law, I have tried to read on this. And I've read Article 37 that people say that, but we are allowed to protest.
To picket, yes.
An alienable constitutional right. Unfortunately, I even see very senior advocates talking about this and talking very recklessly. One, the most important article of the Constitution, where we should start with before we even go to Article 37, is Article 1.
The sovereignty.
The sovereignty. Which says sovereignty is to the people. Now, if sovereignty is to the people, the very, very article says, but it can only be exercised in accordance with this Constitution. So you can't just become a mob and say that you are exercising. You commit offenses and you say you are exercising. It must be constitutional. And the Constitution only provides, I think, 4 or 5 areas through which the people can exercise their sovereignty directly. One is through the elections. You choose your leaders. 2 is through referenda. When an issue cannot be left for parliamentarians to decide on, it is brought to a referendum and we decide on.
Yes.
3 is through public participation, which I hope we are going to talk about.
Yeah.
So everything the government is doing is brought to us to give our opinion, so that they consider our opinion as they make a decision. And 4 are this right to protest and picket and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, this then brings us to Article 37 that gives us that right. Kenyans talk about peaceful and unarmed. The word peaceful is not in our constitution. The word that is in our constitution is peaceable and unarmed. There's a difference.
Okay.
Peaceable
and unarmed.
Define that for us,
Now,
please.
Peaceful is the act that it is not violent, peaceable means that it is the concept on ensuring that it is peaceful.
Okay.
Okay, so it starts from preparation,
A concept, yes.
to the circumstances, to the actual event,
The execution
and to
now.
the aftermath. It should be something that builds confidence on the rest of the public that what this group is planning to do, they plan to do it in a peaceful manner. They plan to do it in a way that will not interfere with the rights of others, because immediately you interfere with the rights of others, it stops being peaceable. Because if you stop me from driving or from riding because you're doing your demo and we do not agree with you that you can, pass, I give you 10 minutes to pass and then you let me drive, then it is not peaceable. If I say that I am going to do a procession to Parliament, but you decide that you are going to invade State House, but you are starting it from the point where I was supposed to start my demo, then that demo is not peaceable. Okay. Now, then when announcements are made about political change without going through constitutional means, like we are going to invade State House, we are going to remove Ruto, then you jump to Article 238,
Okay.
which talks about national security and says that the security agencies have authority to ensure that the country is secured, and the property and lives of other Kenyans are secured, and even government property and installations are protected.
All right.
Then you jump to the Police Service Act, which I think in section 60 or 61 provides for use of force. And I keep telling people, people have said that, Murkomen said that shoot to kill. I've listened to that clip severally.
Yeah.
At some point, he talks in several stops.
Yes.
And he gave a written statement at Harambee House. Then he moved on. And you can understand that at some point he became emotional.
Right.
When he saw injured policemen. And it may have come out better. But then, what C.S. Murkomen mentioned is actually in the law. If you look at Article 238 and then you look at the Police Service Act, it allows use of force, especially to protect lives and property, for the police to defend themselves, and when security and government installations are attacked. And says that force needs to be reasonable and justified. So, but that force includes even use of lethal force. I always tell people, and I even tell my son and my daughter, who is a Gen Z, that gun does not carry water. It carries a bullet. Bullets are manufactured to kill. The highest possibility when a bullet is fired into your body is that it will kill. In a few circumstances, it don't kill. There are definitely protocols for police to use arms. And, we cannot justify at all the pressing of a gun on the face of this young man, Karaoke, and pushing a bullet inside. Whether it was a rubber bullet, it ended up in there. That policeman must go in for murder. Okay? So where police misuse arms and force, they must be held accountable.
Joshua, sorry to cut you short, but we can agree for sure that there are police officers who went above and beyond what was provided within the law, and they went outside the law.
Yes.
That one is given,
exactly.
And I'm sure they will face the law.
Yes.
We also agree that the protests turned out to be something else.
Yes.
Initially, they were intended to be peaceful, peaceable, but they ended up being something else because everyone is blaming each other. Kuna mwenye anasema guns walitumwa, kuna mwenye anasema nyinyi ndio mliorganize guns. It's a matter that can be argued till kingdom come.
Yes.
The one thing though that we need to agree is that Kenyans have an issue, and they would like those issues. First of all, they would like to articulate those issues, and number two, they would like those issues taken care of by their government, which is headed by the president, Dr. William Ruto. That said, what would be the way forward? Because clearly, it looks like picketing is no longer picketing. It is rioting, and we need to get away from that one. If you were to advise these Gen Zs, and anyone else who intends to join maandamano, demos, whatever we want to call them, what would you tell them? Because you've explained how you did it, in the early 2000s, but right now things have changed, and also the people that we are dealing with are very different. We are dealing with a generation that needs things to be done now, not now, and then we have national dialogue and have a commission of inquiry and then have NADCO, which will implement things after God knows how long. They want things done now. What would be your advice?
My advice is this, and I'm normally very brutal about this. I talk to my generation. It is we who have failed, because we then say that these kids will not accept. Now does not exist. It doesn't happen that way. Okay, we are in a hole. We must pull ourselves out of that hole, socioeconomic hole. We have mass unemployment. Our economy is not able to provide for everybody as we will have needed. So it was going to take time for us to get there. But these are our kids. I normally tell people that Gen Zs are not people out there. Sometimes our generation, I meet some of my age mates who even incite them. I say, Gen Z is right. Let them, these people are different. They're not like you people. But I've told you, I've got 2 Gen Zs in my house who are just finishing university. And I have another one who has finished Form 4. Another one who has finished, who was in grade 9. And I sit down with them and I hear them. And sometimes they come with very strong positions. And then I engage them. Okay, and we have to tell our young people that some of their demands are not possible to be met now
immediately. Yes,
but they need to be addressed, but they will be met over the years. Some they will not even meet during their lifetime. I mean, I had certain dreams when I was young, but they are not met up to now. I am now graying, and most likely I will die before they are met. So we must bring back sobriety amongst our young people. Secondly, and this takes parents to do. We must first set it out in our houses. For instance, I talk to many of my friends. Most of them are telling me that my son told me that he's going to Mombasa for a funeral. Another one, there was something in Mombasa. It ended up that all these young people and I've met like 6 of my friends who are telling me their children are in Mombasa. They didn't know that there was something called summer something. There's some festival in Mombasa.
Summer tides.
Summer tides.
Yes.
That young people are complaining that the government had organized it to lock them in Mombasa and not allow them to come for the demonstration.
You need to be on social media.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm growing old. Clearly, I'm growing old.
Right,
I've told you, I'm on Facebook. I'm not very active on X.
Yes.
Yeah, but now we need to be involved with these young people. We need to advise them. Then I am opposed to anybody who says that we should stop at exercise of rights under Article 37. It's an important right that must be exercised. However, we should regulate it. Some people do not want to hear the word regulation.
Yeah.
Okay? Like I've said, you cannot use Article 37 to storm police stations. To attempt to overthrow government. Attempting to overthrow government is actually treason and subversion. It is provided for under the Penal Code, Section 40, and the sentence is life. Okay, and that law has been protected even despite the fact that we have a new constitution. And there are similar laws in all the developed countries. Tundulusu is in for treason.
Right.
And so then there is the law on terrorism. Kenyans have suddenly realized that there are offenses on terrorism, and some of these organizers and financiers are being charged with terrorism. Those are laws that exist. So we need to tell our young people that there are laws. But then I have not looked at the bill that has been taken by Esther Passaris to Parliament. I am hoping to access it and read it.
She has actually withdrawn it.
She has withdrawn it.
Yes.
Yeah, but even if she has withdrawn it, my view is that we need such a law, because every article in the Constitution, we then normally operationalize it through an act of Parliament. Okay, and so why is it that this particular article, we do not want to operationalize it through an act of parliament that provides how you defines what peaceable is, defines what order is, define what assembly is, defines what picketing is. Because when we say we can demonstrate, what is demonstration? Is demonstration carrying arms? Is demonstration, lighting fire in parliament? That's not demonstration. So that needs to be defined. And Kenya will not be the first country to do it. South Africa has a mirror of our Article 37. In South Africa, it is Section 37 of their constitution. The only difference is them, they say peaceful, we say peaceable. So which means ours is even deeper and puts more responsibility on the organizers and participants. Now, but they then have enacted what is called the Public Gathering Act. And that Public Gathering Act provides that when you call a demo, you must give notice. Apart from giving notice, you must then go and sit with the local sheriff or local police department and agree with them on how you're going to undertake crowd control. You also go and sit with the local authority. In this case would be Nairobi City County to agree with them that takataka, which roads do you want to use? How do we help you manage traffic? And then which you will ensure that you collect all the garbage that you leave on the road.
Any placards you had?
Yes. If you leave them, then we will collect them at the cost of the organizers. Okay. If property is damaged, then we will follow you as the organizer to ensure that that property is repaired. You get me?
I mean, and that's fair enough.
Yeah, and that has happened. India is doing the same thing. US and the UK is doing the same thing. So my view is I was not very sure of how good the Nani's bill is. But I'm thinking that we need a bill that is developed through public participation so that we have a framework that can guide so that people take responsibility but protects that right.
Well, I'm also looking at now, what is now the responsibility of the state, of the government? Well, we have talked on the side of the protesters and so forth. Now, we want to look at now the responsibility of the government itself. Like yesterday, yesterday but one, we saw they barricaded the access to town. Nobody could access town. But then still, we have people who are killed in the estates. So where is the responsibility of the government?
Exactly. And that's another area we need to look at. The government has the responsibility to facilitate exercise of all rights, including rights under Article 37. So the government should ensure that if the three of us call a demo and we say that we will be 3,000 to try and provide security for the 3,000, to try and help us have free access to the roads we want to walk, but considering also the rights of others. So they'll say that, this is normally a busy area, the CBD, you have 1 hour to walk to Parliament and then walk out. If you want to a gathering, go and do it at Uhuru Park or Uhuru Gardens. Okay, in London there is a park called the Heights Park, where you can go and shout the way you want. But to do a demo in the middle of London, you need to then notify police and the local authority, and they organize for you the time when you're doing that, so long as it is not interfering with the rights. So the government has a responsibility of organizing that. But then also we have to appreciate the challenges that the government is working with in the new phenomenon that we want to call demos. They are basically riots. We have only 110,000 policemen in Kenya. We are a population of 50 million. These guys are taking care of airports, roads, borders, and other places. On that very day, police stations. On that day of the demo, they must be in all those other places. So therefore means that the number of officers that the government can deploy are limited. So when we have, 100,000 people in the streets of Nairobi and the government can only deploy 2,000 policemen, and that within this crowd we have radical and violent elements, then who will, ban and destroy. The government is not capable. And I tell people to be practical.
Yeah.
Is not capable. Okay? Now, in such a case, the policemen themselves find themselves overwhelmed. And in overwhelming them, I keep telling people that these policemen also go through trauma. They are human beings. They are frustrated. Probably he was picked at 3 a.m. He did not have breakfast, not have lunch. The policeman is required, policeman with a gun is required to make momentary decisions on if to use, and if to use, how to use it. Like he said, the gun, if you are to use it, should be to, scare or disable. Deter or disable. Okay? But so to deter, probably you'd fire in the air. To disable, probably shoot the leg. Yes. But look at this lady policeman who was being attacked by goons. And there's this young man who went and covered her. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine if a colleague to that lady had a gun. And he had only 2 bullets remaining. He's seeing his colleague being killed.
Yeah.
And you've heard when sometimes the policemen shoot in the air and these young people count that hiyo ni moja imeenda, amebaki na 6.
They even know the bullets.
They know the number of bullets. What does this policeman do?
Well, I also want to challenge you on that question that you're asking. Imagine there was a police who saw the colleague being beaten,
attacked,
right? What about now the citizen? When you also see a Kenyan pia anapigwa risasi and you are there.
Those are the questions. And I've said that the policemen are under constitutional and legal responsibility to only use arms when necessary and justified.
Yeah.
And that every officer with a gun or a rungu has a responsibility to make that. It is a discretion.
Yeah.
And in law we say that you must exercise discretion judiciously.
Yes.
You must be like a judge and judge the situation. What do I do? Okay? And so we must continue holding every policeman who misuses that discretion to account. And then these policemen have certain commanders who command them. If the commander also failed, we need to hold them to account. However, I tell people to be practical. In a riot situation, not a demonstration, in a riot situation as we are having, that policeman has only a split second
to make a decision.
Yes, that policeman is being affected by the same tear gas. That policeman is hungry. That policeman has been running with you the whole day. That policeman is traumatized. That policeman, I'm sure you have been in studio here when you've worked. I don't know whether you've worked a whole day. As a lawyer, sometimes I work for 18 hours. At some moment, the sugar levels go down. It's burnout. And you're trying to read a paragraph you can read like 3 times. Okay? So those policemen also go through that. Do we think that we can then require them, after running hungry
a whole day against rioters who are stoning you, you are also injured, to make a right decision? That is a question for Kenyans to make. All right. Joshua, for sure, like we've said earlier on, whoever went outside the law will face the consequences, because let's be honest, there are police officers you just see mtu anatoa bunduki, aim at a crowd and just fire and walk nonchalantly like nothing has happened. So those are the kinds of people we're talking about. We're not talking about those ones who have to protect their lives or the life of property and so on. There is this other group of people, let's even call them organizers of peaceful demos, that disappear either before, during or after demos.
Some of them are not even in Kenya.
Some of them, for example, the Kenya Human Rights Commission, I was just reading here earlier on before you came to studio, mentions that on Monday during Sabasaba, 2 individuals were forcefully disappeared. The word that we like using here in Kenya is abducted. Then how do we deal with such a situation?
Definitely, that's a serious human rights issue, and it's something we need to deal with as a country. Arrests are legal, but but there are protocols to arrest. And that is, when a policeman wants to arrest you, he needs to identify himself. That I am PC so-and-so. This is my number. And I am arresting you for such an offense. And then tell you about your rights. And that you have a right to be silent. I am taking you to such a police station. That should give you possibility of calling your relatives and tell them, I've been arrested and I'm being taken to such a police station. And then in the police station, you should be processed in a legal manner, either given bail or put in the cells, and then taken to, if you're put in the cells, you should be taken to court within 24 hours. Then the court should decide whether to give you a bail or not. Bail is normally the default. Okay, you are only supposed to be detained if there are compelling reasons why you need to be detained thereafter. Okay, so that is the law. Now, what is happening is that we have a problem, and I try to look at the bigger picture rather than look at individual cases. We have a problem with the security agencies, and the problem with the security agencies is that we inherited the security agencies from the colonial government.
All right.
So when the police was established in Kenya, it was established to be a force to suppress, to subjugate, and to control. And unfortunately, successive governments in Kenya did not move on to reform the police force. So that even in 2010, and you see, if you look at the Kenyatta regime, the Moi regime, the way police was used, and even the Kibaki regime. So that is why when we were pushing for the new constitution, we required that we move it from being a force to a service, so that it serves the people. So in terms of law and policy, we did that. But in practice, this has not happened over the years. And doing it does not just require declaration. It requires reforms in so many things. It requires retraining of policemen.
Right.
It requires giving them equipment, and so on and so forth. For example, I'm telling you about this policeman who only has a gun. He has no anti-riot gear. He has nothing. So it is only the gun that is the shield. There are other, you look at the policemen in the first world. They have this thing they use to shock people. It's called what?
Taser.
The taser. Okay.
I hope that's not an emergency phone call. Eh?
No, it can't.
Okay, all right.
They have the pepper
spray. Yes.
Yes, and so on. As they have other mechanisms. Okay. So it is important that we enable our policemen to have all the other mechanisms for control, crowd control, and dealing with criminals.
All right.
That they don't have to use the nini. And then I always say that we need what the CS for Interior and the PS announced the other day. That is to have cameras in police station. It's critical, so that we know what happens in. The reason why we now call what we now call abductions and arbitrary arrests are now being announced quite a lot, is that we are in the information age.
But
these
Joshua,
things used to
these people who are forcefully disappeared.
Yeah, I'm coming to that.
They are not taken to the police stations.
I am coming to that.
Okay.
And I'm saying that we then need to compel that every officer, to the extent possible. Yes, there are definitely plainclothes officers, which is required in for certain situations.
Right.
But when conducting arrests, to the extent possible, they should be in uniform. And we can invest in a camera. There are things they are not expensive now. The body cams that certain other services across the world have. With the risks that we have in arbitrary arrests, it will not cost us so much to get every police officer with that, and get every police vehicle with a camera, so that we are able to track immediately you are arrested up to the point you are taken to court or given bail. Okay, that is when because the policeman has a discretion to use, that is when we can be able to hold them to account on whether they use their discretion properly or not. Now, we also need to strengthen the oversight systems for oversighting the police. And IPOA is one, Kenyans have dismissed it. But I keep telling people that we just got the new commissioners the other day. We need to allow them to build systems. One of the new commissioners is Annette Mbogo. Annette Mbogo was the executive director for Kituo cha Sheria that I volunteered to do a lot of human rights litigation. And she's, a human rights defender with a track record. They are in those offices. We need to support them to entrench the principles of human rights in such like entities, so that, and we resource them. We have the Kenya National Human Rights Commission. We need to track the budget and find out how much money have they been given. If they have not been given much money, we should push for them to give in more money, so that they have resources to be able to oversight the police and to be able to document and to be able to then take action when these things happen. It is only through such actions that we will reduce. We will never eliminate totally possibility of a policeman misusing the power and arms. In countries that we think are first world countries, for instance, the US. George Floyd was killed by policemen, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, so this problem is worldwide. It's not only unique to Kenya, but we need to reduce it.
But we're looking at how fast was the justice served for him.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, that we can only serve justice if we resource the oversight bodies to ensure that investigation is fast enough,
right,
and that action is quickly taken.
Okay.
And we also hold those oversight bodies to account. It is a systemic issue, so we have to sort out the systemic problems. I give you an example. There was an IG, deputy IG, called Kaindi. Kaindi was a PPO in Kisumu when I was a young activist. And one day we went to protest in her office and we took to her petition. So she invited us to sit down. She asked me, Mori, shida gani na hizi kelele zako? I told him, you can't. There was something called Mariam. I don't know whether you guys ever saw what is called Mariam.
Yes.
She was an ugly lorry that with no windows and no nothing that you move around. And once you're put in there, people don't know what happens to you. So this thing, Mariam would be moving. It's called the Black Maria, but we called it Mariam. Would be moving around neighborhoods every Friday, Saturday, and arresting any young person that they found on the road. We would all be put in the cells, and you stay there until Monday. Then they charge you with kurandaranda niambaya. So I asked her, why do you do this? It's a human rights abuse. Then she told me, and I was telling her, now Kenya is changing. And she told me that, Nyamori, what you're saying is what needs to happen. But unfortunately, what I was taught in Kiganjo, and what all these my officers have been taught, is that we must carry out raids every Friday and Saturday. Okay. Any OCS who is not carrying out raids is not doing things that he was taught at Kiganjo. So you need to go back to Kiganjo and change the curriculum. You get me? Yeah. So quite a lot needs to happen that require investment.
Right.
Justice Maraga just led the police reforms task force and gave a very progressive report that the government started implementing. That we are funny as Kenyans. Some of us moved to court to stop that task force report from being implemented, because that task force report was not done according to the law. So I'm wondering which law. And then now Justice Maraga is with us in the streets. I actually asked myself whether retired judges should be allowed to get into politics and things like that.
But they are Kenyans and they have rights.
They are Kenyans and they have rights. But you see, it's a discussion we are having as legal practitioners.
Right.
A judge enjoys what is called protection of a judge, and then they should remain, I've just forgotten the word,
apolitical.
They should remain apolitical. And then the question is, if a judge and Chief Justice for that matter can become political immediately he retires,
does that mean that he was political before?
Yes. What stops him from making decisions for the years when he's judge and Chief Justice to prepare him to become For instance, Justice Maraga has just said that he wants to be a president. Could he have annulled the 2017 elections so that immediately becomes popular?
All right.
So that when he retires, those are questions that we need to ask.
Okay. All right.
Okay, yeah.
Fair enough. Unfortunately, we have literally a minute. So much that we would have discussed, but I believe what we have discussed was equally as important. Thank you so much for gracing our studio. Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to give you probably like some 20 or so seconds, or even 40 seconds. Closing remarks in regards to the future of this country politically.
Yeah, the closing remarks. When I walked in, you were actually discussing the issue of whether people should talk.
Right.
Yeah, I think we need to continue talking. Talking can never end.
So now we had NADCO, we need another one.
Yeah, it must not be NADCO.
Yeah.
But
Honorable Raila said a conclave.
Yeah, we need to have a talking nation. And we will continue disagreeing. It's not, even kwa nyumba, you make up with your wife or husband now, and then after 1 week, you ask him, but we agreed that you are not going to repeat this. You have come home tipsy again. So we need to continue engaging and discussing as a nation. And that is why, I am very happy with you people that you have forums in which we come and have discussions with the Kenyans.
Right.
So that we clarify some of these things and we reconcile where we have differences.
All right.
Thank you.
I like the part where you're saying we should continue engaging.
Yeah.
Lakini hapo kwa dialogue bana. Hii dialogue unaketi committees, commissions, people sit in a room somewhere, they earn allowances.
Tunaweza dialogue hata kwa express.
Well, my issue is about public participation. It's actually a pertinent issue that really needs to be looked into. But unfortunately, I wish she had a minute for the next hour.
Time is gone.
Yes.
You can call me again.
Right.
I do a lot of legal work on public participation.
Yes.
And we can talk about it for an hour.
Sawa. Karibu tena sana. That was Joshua Nyamuri Odhiambo. He is a public policy expert, a governance expert, and also he's a director at the National Housing Corporation. Thank you so much for making time. Right now we come to a close. Coming up next, we have Winnie Maganga with the news, and then after that, the conversation still continues on Radio Generation.
Radio Generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. Families in Kiambu are mourning loved ones after police opened fire during Sabasaba protest, killing 6 people, including a 12-year-old girl who was shot while watching television at home. The tragedy has left communities railing and families demanding accountability, compensation, and an independent investigation into what they describe as unjustified use of lethal force by police. In Dumbere village, the death of young Bridget Njoki has left her family shattered. Her mother, Lucy Ngugi, painfully recalled the moment the bullet tore through their home.
Hatujui mahali risasi ilitoka, ukili ilikuja, ikapiga, ikagonga mabati, ikaenda ikatoboa ceiling. Mtoto alikuwa amekaa na mama yake, alikuwa na TV.
Na kumwangalia kwa mkono, nikaona ako na damu. Wakati niliona ako na damu, tulidhani ni kitu imemkata, kama ni kitu imepasuka. Wakati nilimshika mkono kuangalia damu imetoka wapi, ndio mtoto wangu akaanguka chini, na kumwangalia nikaona ako na shimo kwa kichwa.
Isiolo Governor Abdi Guyo has been cautioned to avoid celebrating the Senate's decision to drop his impeachment case. Speaking in the Senate on Tuesday, Speaker Amason Kingi urged Guyo to take the ruling as an opportunity to rebuild trust and mend political relationships with the county. Kingi told the governor that the Senate's move should not be treated as a victory, warning that how he conducts himself moving forward will determine whether or not the case remains closed.
To the governor, let me offer you unsolicited advice. This is not a win, and therefore the Senate does not expect you to go out there chest thumping. This is a postponement of your case. It is a postponement of your hearing. Now, depending on how you're going to carry yourself from today going forward, that case may never be heard. Depending on how you're going to behave out there, your case may be back here in a matter of days. It's up to you.
Medical workers' unions have announced the immediate withdrawal of their personnel from all healthcare facilities affected by violence during the Sabasaba protest. This follows an attack at Kitengela Sub-County Hospital where individuals posing as protesters broke into the facility, assaulted staff and vandalized critical medical equipment and infrastructure. The Kenya Union of Clinical Officers and the Kenya National Union of Medical Laboratory Officers said the workers will remain off duty until the government guarantees their safety.
The government must take measures to provide security in all facilities where services must be given, because we are neutral. We are not pro anyone. We are there to offer services to any person who will be injured during this demo, or rather the demo that will be coming, or even any police, because we don't choose who to give services.
West Pokot County Security Committee has ordered an immediate vetting of all foreign nationals living in the area. This follows reports of cannibalism and organ harvesting involving the foreign nationals. West Pokot County Commissioner Abdullahi Khalif announced that the vetting process will begin in the sub-counties of Kapenguria, Makutano and Bandera, areas identified as hotspots in the ongoing investigations.
The County Security Committee in its meeting today has directed to vet all aliens from Burundi, Rwanda, Congo, and the community of Wagisu, who have been all suspected to have been involved in this heinous crime of cannibalism and harvesting of organs.
Khalif stated that the suspects believed to be behind the killing and consumption of at least 8 children who are living in the makeshift shelters along a road reserve in Bandera.
All the suspects are from Uganda, from one community of Wagisu, and therefore we are taking these stern measures to establish their stay here and the activities that they are involved.
At least 161 people are still missing in a single Texas county for 4 days after deadly and devastating flash floods hit parts of the state last week. This is according to Governor Greg Abbott, as hope fades for survivors to be found alive. The missing in the hard-hit Carr County include 5 campers and 1 counselor from Camp Mystic, a Christian all-girls summer camp located on the banks of Guadalupe River. At least 109 people have died in the disaster, including 95 in the Carville area alone, Abbott said in news conference on Tuesday. And that's the truth on Radio Generation. Good morning, Winnie Maganga.
This is Radio Generation.
Tuzungumze kwa hekima na heshima, tutulize nafsi, tupeane busara, tuwe na mazungumzo ya kujenga, tuelewane mimi na wewe, tusipoziba ufa tutajenga ukuta.
Radio.
I've never seen anything like this.
But now there is Radio Generation's The People's Breakfast. Curious and bold, getting facts from the shadows.
That's what it is.
Now, as the city wakes and secrets stir, a bright new voice shines. The People's Breakfast. Your morning, your voice, your journey.
You got it locked.
Good morning.
Good morning, my neighbor.
Welcome to the home of hard truths and bold insights. Radio Generation.
Alright, this is Radio Generation. My name is Mungala Mbuvi, 88.8 in Nairobi, and in Mombasa it's 90.7. Watu wa Garissa tuliwaambia you can always find us on 89.5. And like I told you, guess who's in Garissa? Brian Odur. And the entire team, we have a team of marketers and guys from sales. They are there to ensure that you guys are well taken care of as far as Radio Generation is concerned. So
and
I hope you meet them.
yeah, there are also a lot of goodies they're bringing to you.
Hey, niliona hapo walibeba boxes jana wakienda Garissa. I wish I
if
was
you see
there.
our team, of course, you're going to get some gift there.
Yeah.
So just get closer to them.
When you see them, engage them.
Just engage them. Usiwaone alafu ukimbie, because of course they have some good news to you also with regards to banking.
Right.
Yeah.
Something that you'll definitely
you would like.
Yes. The guest we just had, Mr. Nyamori, Joshua Odhiambo, he has said a lot of things, and I liked the way he articulated them.
Yeah.
In terms of the way forward. And I will always ask every guest that we get here to give us a way forward, or rather to give us thoughts on the way forward. But one thing he has mentioned, I like the word he used, engage.
Yeah.
Engaging can be in very many ways. Public participation, like you were asking. Engagement can also just be in terms of
dialogues, those talks.
I mean, dialogue, yes.
I know you don't want to hear about
mambo ya
dialogue.
dialogue, bwana.
That is engagement.
It is engagement,
And actually,
yes.
that is
and that's
where
why I said engagement can be done in various
forms.
ways. Yes. So anyway, when you wanataka dialogue pia sitawakazia. Sitaanza kuambia ndio unataka dialogue, wewe shida yako ni nini? Dialogue is fine.
Well, me, I have my problem is dialogues. We want to see now the outcome. We want to see people doing what we have discussed, the conversations, the outcome. We want to see the outcome of these dialogues. It's not just a matter of we are engaging each other and then there's nothing that is coming out.
Yes.
One thing that I've liked is the analogy of the story that he has given. I mean, what he did for the Taifa Park in Kisumu. I liked the approach. Well, I know, of course, you will challenge it because we are in different times, especially matters to do with technology.
Right.
We are quite in different times compared to, that was 2009 was late 20s.
It was
2000s, late 2000s.
Yes.
Yes, and right now we are in
we're in 2025.
2025.
Right.
Yes. So
Yeah.
this is, we're also getting late 20.
We're getting late. We are now
late,
mid.
Okay, mid 2025.
Mid 2020s.
Yeah, 2020s.
Mid 2020s.
Yes. So basically, there are some things that people need to understand, but there is a commonality on stories za maandamano. Tupende to spend it. That's just one that there's something that people are agitating for, right? And another commonality is you will always face that objection, of course, from the parties involved, the stakeholders, especially in this case the government. Yeah, anytime you want to do maandamano, there is no single day you just go and maybe the government or the people involved are just seated like that. They are just allow you to walk around.
Right.
There will always be objection. So now, what ways do we decide to do these protests? Because he has talked of having options. And asema kwamba that day they went, kulikuwa na option A and there was option B.
Right.
So wamefika kule wameona kwamba the protest will not work. So they are like, in a coded message, let's switch to plan B.
Yes.
Plan B was just being peaceful and getting into that park and getting seated. So I think those are some of the things that also as Gen Zs, because of course we are aware of infiltration.
Yes.
Kwa maandamano. Na watu wana infiltrate, wengine they are sponsored.
Right.
Wengine they are just doing it from their own wish. By the way, kuna wengine tu by them tunaingia pale hajalipo hajafanya nini, they are just taking advantage like of the situation. Mtu anataka kwenda kule afanye shopping, nasikia wanaendanga shopping, anatoka nyumbani ambeba kamfuko. Yeah, so because we are aware of that, what options do we have?
Right. And that is why I'm saying engagement for me would be the proper approach to see how we can go forward. Of course, there are certain things that we expect to be done immediately, irregardless, like our former president would say, of dialogue or even of engagement. When I get yes,
yeah, there are some things like police brutality. Those are not things that we need to sit and discuss about. By
corruption,
pulling happy trigger police. That is not something that we need to dialogue about, to engage about. It's just that please know when to shoot and when not to shoot.
It's
follow
like
the constitution.
It's not like they don't know.
No, I mean in terms of the inner you, you need to know when to do that.
And as much as Joshua has said here that, you know, police by the time wamekukimbiza for, you know, 5 hours, 6 hours, pia wamechoka bana. Unajua, they also fear for their lives, But the police has gone for, the policeman that I am dealing with has gone for training. I haven't. Me, I don't want you to shoot me hata kama nimekusumbua aje. If I have not killed you, I have not attacked you, don't kill me.
You don't kill me.
Period. Wewe ulienda training. Ulienda training ukafunzwa kusoma kwa jua for 6 hours or rather for 18 hours. Ulienda training ukafunzwa kusimama kwa mvua. Mimi sikuenda training yote. Ulienda training ukakimbizwa kupanda mlima. Kama umebeba kama umebeba 12 kilograms of whatever it is you carry on your back.
And again you are armed.
Yeah. You've been trained how to hold a gun. You've been trained how to do ABCD. Mimi, the only training I have is the fact that I've been sleeping hungry. The only training I have is the fact that I am jobless, unemployed. The only training I have as a Kenyan, of course I'm speaking here on behalf of a Kenyan. The only training that Kenyan that you're shooting has is the pain and suffering that he has endured for years. And this person is exploding. So shooting him should not be the solution.
Another take home. Which I really am concerned about is the issue of akisema kwamba polisi ni wachache in our country. And I'm like, tuko na mapolisi tumepeleka kule Haiti. Don't you think it is a high time they come back?
The Haiti issue, that's another story altogether.
No, we are talking of we do not have enough to ensure security in here in our own country inside here.
People never wanted cops to go to Haiti to begin with. So that's why I'm saying that is a different story. And remember, they went the planning of them to go to Haiti happened even before Manamano, hata before tujue mambo ya finance bill.
So we were just okay. The policemen that we have in place, they were just enough for us.
Let's not mix issues.
Well,
hiyo ya makarawa Haiti is a story for another.
There's another issue here of a leader. You remember he has talked of that story of how he was able to, he was recognized and he gave commands to the people who were the protesters. You remember?
Yes.
He said like alienda pale akawaambia wimbo ni mmoja. He was the one who was issuing commands on what these people will do. And actually the police saw kwamba there is someone who is in charge and he was called for some. And what I like is he was something who was he has a stand, he has integrity, like he knows this is what we are pushing for,
right?
And that is what he pushed for, because unlike some of the people ambao wakienda kule anaongeleshwa kidogo anasahau you had a common objective that you are pursuing. Him umesikia akisema kwamba yeye aliulizwa na akasema hii ndio tunapanga. Akawaambia kama mnataka kukamata mtu yote mpeleke ndani, mimi ndio kiongozi wao, nishikeni. Na wao with the same voice wakasema na sisi wote tunataka tukamatwe sisi wote. You get? So now I'm looking at Gen Zs ambao walisema kwamba they are leaderless. And it is an issue that, by the way, all of the guests that we've been inviting here, wakikuja hapa, all the analysts, most of the time, they are pointing at that issue of being tribeless. I mean, not tribeless, leaderless, because it is key. We always need a leader, maybe to when we are holding those engagements. Whom are we engaging? Who is representing you? So I think we get back to the issue of being kuwa na ile integrity and have something to stand for.
Okay. I think also if you just want, if you want to go the leaderless direction, you know, you can still go to the ground and ask, for example, enda Kaangware, ongea na youths hapo, watakwambia kenye wanataka. Enda Ngando, waulize, watakwambia. Mlolongo, engage youth pale, watakwambia. You can have town hall meetings, you know. You don't necessarily have to sit with Patricia representing the youth of Kenya, who could be well over 35
But million. let me ask you, how are you going to get this youth? Assuming now I stay in Ngando, like you're saying, so I'm in Ngando, who is this going to mobilize these people to come and sit and have a talk with you?
But we see the president doing campaigns all over.
No, that's why I'm asking. That's why I'm saying there must be a leader somewhere.
No. You see, a leader where? A leader for the youth in Ngando.
For example, he said when he wanted to have those people on board,
yes,
he went akaenda mpaka wapi? kwa nyumba 10. Nyumba 10 there is a leader. Sindio, kuna wazee pale anakuambia pale kuna kijana, pale kuna kijana, pale kuna kijana.
So
easy. We bring them.
Now, so I get your question. I get your question. For example, if you go to Kawangware, like I was saying, there is always that, like for example, for the border riders, they have a chairman. You know that's a leader. Yes, he might be the leader, the chairman for border riders in Kawangware, but he is the leader of that, and people will listen to him. Pale sokoni kuna wamama. Uwezi pata mama mwenye hapo anapatiwa heshima sana, mwenye anasikizangwa sana. She could be the oldest woman there, or probably who has got the biggest shop in that soko. That's also a leader of sorts. Na anajua kile watu wanapitia hapo hiyo eneo la Kawangware. Atakwambia. Aya, we have other youths there, for example watu wa mikokoteni. I'm sure they have a chairman wa mikokoteni. If you can find and identify these guys, of which they are there, you won't need to go far. If right now, hata wewe nakwambia, as a journalist, just go land in Kawangware right now.
Yes.
And just ask any border rider, mimi ni Patricia, Radio Generation, and I want to interview leader wa bodaboda hapa, aniambie zile shida watu wa bodaboda wako nazo. Hutakosa mtu atakwambia, John Tendi anakuanga chairman wetu. John Tendi buka muongea na journalist hapa, anataka kujua shida zetu ni gani. Alright? Or even better, even he himself, the one bodaboda you have found there, can articulate on behalf of the rest. And because it doesn't take the leader to tell you the problems of the people. It can take the people to tell you their problems. And that is why I am okay with this whole idea of partyless and leaderless. If you go to Kitui County today, kuna kwanga na tuk-tuk.
Yes.
If you sit the tuk-tuk people down, hutakosa chairman. Hata kama ni chairman wa sako ama leader wa hiyo sako, because they also divided into sakos. Hutakosa mtu wa sako.
So now I'm asking you, how are those leaderless? How are they leaderless? So they have somebody.
That's why I have said,
yes,
as a generation, they are not saying that our leader is. You see, for example, the way we will have laws, we will assume their kingpin is Raila Amolo Odinga, because they listen to him more than they listen to any other person. Raila has never come out to say, I am the kingpin of Luo Nyanza. But we see people rallying, even other leaders, James Orengo, Anyang' Nyong'o, Kina Opio, whatever, they rally behind him and say this will be our leader in terms of
so issues. If there's anything that you want to do in Luo Nyanza, of course you're gonna sit down with somebody like,
if you'd have to sit down
the
with
Honorable Raila Odinga.
Exactly. And so, if Raila wants to delegate, he will delegate.
So basically he is a leader there.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, even these people, as we want to go down to the estates, right? Going down to the constituencies. So kama ni kwa hii estate kuna watu wa bodaboda, they have their leader.
Their leaders, yes.
We have chama cha wamama. They also have their leaders. Now these leaders, when they come together, pia unapata wanakuwa na leader mwingine wao. I'm not saying ideally that is what they do,
yes,
but for them to come and maybe to reach at a national level, like whatever we are doing right now, for people to leave Kawangware to come to town, people, the youth, Gen Zs, to leave Embakasi and come to town, to live somewhere in Mulolongo and come to town. There is a voice yenye wamesikia imewaambia kujeni wapi?
Mulolongo.
Kujeni town.
Kujeni town, yes.
Let's meet in town. There's this that we want to do. Of course, we have seen so many other people are trying to pose to be the leaders of Gen Zs. For example, he has given a good example of some human rights activists ambao watu wakipanga maandamano walipanga kuja kufanya nini? Ilikuwa ni kukumbuka ambao walipoteza maisha yao pale 2024.
Kweli.
But then kuna some other people on social media kama kwa Twitter ambaye amesema let us go and occupy wapi?
State House.
So there are some people ambao waliwasikiza wale na watu wakaja wanataka kwenda ku occupy State House. Kuna wale ambao walisikiza this other side ambao now they came to town to come and go mourn this anniversary for this that the people lost their lives in 2024.
Sure.
So basically there are some leaders, and when we are talking of engagement,
let me just get you from that perspective. We know that for June 25th 2025 we saw weeks in advance Kalonzo spoke about it. Kweli urongo. Weeks in advance Maraga spoke about it. Weeks in advance. Nani, what's his name? Eugene Wamalwa spoke about it. Weeks in advance, even student leaders from the universities, Kenyatta University, JKUAT, University of Nairobi, MMU, MKU, wote waliongea na wakasema hiyo tarehe tungependa tufanye nini? Tukumbuke marafiki zetu wenye walikufa mwaka jana. So in that sense, people mobilized themselves because had I been free, perhaps, I don't know. Had I been free, I'll probably be there with Kalonzo. Sielenda akapeana inaitwa nini? Maua huko kwa parliament. Yes. So what I'm trying to say is I will not speak on behalf of Gen Zs because number one, I am not a Gen Z. Number two, I didn't go to any maandamano or any protest. And number four, I do not know how they organize themselves in terms of saying let's move from Juja. We saw huge crowds of people coming from Juja into Nairobi. We saw also people coming from Ngong Road and many other places. I wouldn't say that I know how they mobilized themselves. But I know how crowds gather because I've been to the university and I've seen how crowds gather. Utapata tu kuna watu wanasema wasi tuende tao. Bunge la wananchi kama venye nani amesema hapa Joshua. Bunge la wananchi tu, if you find like even 5-10 people, crowds just gather momentum. If I see a crowd of 10 people moving towards a certain direction, I will be curious to know watu wanaenda wapi. Niambiwe wanaenda town maandamano. Niseme pia mimi nilikuwa nataka kwenda maandamano by the way. I see my friend Kevin who's just randomly standing, anambia Buddha si tuende tao. And that's how crowds gather. Because by the time 20-30 people are moving in one direction, I can promise you another 20-30 will join and they will watenda wakiongezeka until ifike mahali wako, because you cannot tell me there were the crowds that we saw coming from Thika Road for example. Those guys were in the thousands.
Yes, but
you cannot tell me that kuna mtu alifungua WhatsApp group na keka watu 1000.
I'm saying there is an originator.
Yes.
Mwenye ambaye ame come up with the idea that can we go to town for the first crowd.
It is because this, let me tell you, politics has got, again, I am not an expert, but politics is a very interesting game. Right now, I can even start tweeting about Mashujade. You tweet as well. Someone else tweets. It doesn't make me a leader. It just makes me as someone who initiated the conversation.
So now I'm asking, so
then when I initiate the conversation, the crowd picks it up. Yes, that's hata nikisema mwizi watu wachukue mawe waanze kutandika mtu. I just became the person who shouted mwizi first. But hapa kuna watu wanangojanga tu kuchapa mwizi.
For you to tell people to go to town, maybe for maandamano, kuna reasons zenye unapeana, si ndio? Kuna reasons zenye unapeana,
right.
So that automatically makes you the leader of your crowd ambayo imeenda kwa sababu because they will listen to you. You get so now let me ask you, so now you are saying it is impossible for people to sit down and dialogue with Gen Zs because there is no specific leader, that we will never get a dialogue maybe with the Gen Zs, like what the honorable Raila Odinga alisema kwamba we need to have a conclave of intergenerational. So now does it mean when these people will come and sit down, there's each generation ya kitambo, kuna millennials, kuna the rest, and then now the Gen Zs, we will not have representatives?
The truth of the matter is they will not accept those representatives. And anyone who purports to be a representative will be rejected there and then. Very good example here, we had Kasmuel and Morara. Tusisahau, when Morara started his activism, he was a darling. He was being retweeted by everyone. Alitupatia paybill number, watu walimchangia. Unakumbuka?
Yeah.
Watu walitoa do. Kasmuel was appearing on every TV station, every radio station, and every podcast. And he was a darling because of the issues that he was articulating. They were doing what? They were resonating with the youth. But one thing they said, all those two individuals that I've spoken about, they said, I am not the leader of the Gen Z. Mimi tu ndio nimeongea sana. Unaget? Then at what point did the Gen Zs reject them? When they started linking up with the old guards. akina Martha, akina Kalonzo, Kasmuel joined ODM. The moment those individuals went against partyless, the moment those individuals went against tribeless and leaderless, that is the point whereby they were rejected, and they were rejected unanimously by the same crowds they purported to have represented.
So, come on, movie. We are saying that we need a solution to whatever is happening, right?
And I'm telling you,
as a country, we need a solution. I'm just telling you. So now,
and I'm telling you, being a leader of the Gen Z is not going to.
So
be
I'm saying, so if Gen Zs maybe are not willing to bring forth maybe a leader for these dialogues, because before you get a solution, but the people will have to do an honest conversations, like we have been saying here. There should be a conversation,
right?
You get. So this conversation, who will represent them?
The elected leaders already represent us.
Oh, you are Gen Z also?
No. I've said us as Kenyans. They represent everyone from boomers, generation X, Y, Z.
We have leaders who are representing us.
Hao wote wako hapo. Wote nikwambia mali tutafanya makosa. When we insist on having a conversation about issues that are straightforward. Unaget? If today the government of Kenya comes out and says expressively that this is what we are going to do to ensure that there is no more corruption, they want to see action. We don't need Morara Kebaso to go there and talk
and end corruption
and tell the government of Kenya. So now Patricia is corrupt, arrest her. Branodor, arrest him. Movie, arrest him. No, already they have shouted, and they have shouted in one voice. They do not like this cabinet, for instance. What dialogue do you need for that? Kenya has got 55 million Kenyans. Let me finish. Kenya has got over 50 million Kenyans. In that 55 million population, there are other people that can be cabinet secretaries. And Kwenye, how many cabinet secretaries are there? 22. Unataka kuniambia the current cabinet, hao wenye wako hapo, hao ndio yani sasa yani bila hao hii Kenya hizi songa. Ama what are we saying?
Okay, what I'm looking
so let me just allow me to finish this point. So if that is a conversation that needs to be had, surely that is a conversation that the president needs to have with these policy people, not with Kenyans, right? Unemployment, a very straightforward thing. That one you don't need a conversation. Ati sasa mnataka kuemploy wapi? Hapana. Wewe mwenyewe kama president unajua mahali kazi ziko. Mimi kama Paul Mungala Mbuvi nazionanga tu kwa gazeti. Nita apply. Okay? Nita apply, ninaweza kuwa qualified ama nisikuwe qualified na nikose hizi nafasi, si ndio? But what other avenues for employment opportunities are we creating? And if not employment, what other avenues have you given us as Kenyans to do what? To become entrepreneurs. Sawa? Okay. And last but not least, kuna zile zingine again very straightforward. Police brutality. Hiyo unataka Kasmuela kuja kuambia that kuna watu 11 walikufa sana.
When we talk of engagement and when we talk of dialogues, we do not necessarily mean the dialogues about around such matters that really need a direct action. Yeah, we don't necessarily mean that. Like for example, yesterday we had a guest here,
right?
A Pigeon. And he's actually him is also a Gen Z,
right?
And he said there must be a leader. What? Okay, how I'm looking at this these dialogues, dialogues and these conversations. I'm looking at it from maybe the perspective as young leaders also. Kuna vile they need to sit down. Kuna viti, kuna manafasi ziko katika serikali pia, ambapo it is better off if they are in such positions, they are able also to influence the policies.
All right.
Policies that affect so many things. Yes.
I'm going to answer you that one, but let's do the traffic first.
Traffic.
It is now 9:30 in the AM. Almost coming to the end of the show, but this is what you guys are experiencing out there. I am so sorry. Sijajua mnaumia hivi. Ninaangalia Kipande Road bumper to bumper. Muranga Road as you're approaching Globe flyover or Globe roundabout, huko vitu ziko standstill. Kwanza the line is not even red, it's maroon, and that can only mean one thing: it's not moving. Kuna Kamukunji Business Center, Ring Road, Landis Road, Pumwani Road, and the entire Landis Road, huko mko bumper to bumper, nothing is moving. Kwanza hiyo imetoka from Bama Market all the way to Muthurwa Market, all the way down to Express Lane. Huko kumeshikana. And then also just within the CBD, the traffic is currently yellow. That means that it is moving, but it is moving very, very slowly. What are you seeing on your end?
Waiyaki Way, just around areas around sehemu za Westlands. Pia Kangemi, I'm seeing hapa kuna some slowdown. Also the Jogoo Road around City Stadium, I'm seeing things are quite slow also there. That is as you get to town. Jogoo Road, not Jogoo Road, Ngong Road here. Yes, I'm seeing near City Mortuary, and just as you get to CBD, that is where we are also seeing some traffic, and also back to Junction Mall, kidogo tu pale Langata Road also, I'm seeing things are quite okay. Just kuna some congestion just near Nyayo Stadium. That is where there is a bit of a snarl up, and the Langata Road roundabout. Those are the places where we are seeing a bit of traffic. Tukienda Mombasa, lights Kengileni pia kuna a bit of traffic kidogo tu. Yeah, not much, but it is starting all the way from VOK.
That is your traffic update as of 9:33 a.m.
Traffic on Radio Generation.
So Nadia alisema jana, Pigeon, our guest for the last hour, he said that at the end of the day there is need for leadership. But this is how I understood it. Leadership from that generation. But not a leadership that is leading that generation. Because these guys clearly they have proven that they can lead themselves. The Gen Zs, that is. They have proven time and time and again that they can lead themselves. And we are happy for them because we see them on social media and the kind of things they do. Personally, I wish I had that same energy when I was their age. But now this is a reality on the ground. They will need to be more proactive in their politics, but also in politicking and also taking up the leadership positions. So that means we need more Gen Zs to vie for MCAs. We need more Gen Zs to vie for MPs or other members of National Assembly. We will need them in the women rep positions, although I feel like that position really needs to go. We will need them to vie for Senate, governorship, and even president. You know, although kwa president kidogo naona ni kama itawesmek, lakini ni sawa.
No, it can happen. So it can happen. Nothing is impossible. Once you set your heart on it.
True.
Yeah.
And look, me, I'm not here to burst anybody's bubble. But not anyone can.
But how many youths do we have in our country?
Not anyone can just wake up and be president.
No, it's okay. But how many youths do you think we have in our country?
Acha nikushow. Sijahesabu, tutaangalia Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. But what I'm trying to say in very many words is that they will need to take up these positions so that when they get to leadership, when they get to parliament, they can pass these laws that are so much against them. You understand? Or so much against the country. The laws that they can actually pass laws that will help the country. Yeah, na zile ziko cake draconian, they can repeal them. You understand? They can hold the judiciary to account.
Yeah,
they can hold the executive to account.
So basically that is the same thing that we have been saying here. Yes. Because before we get there, before you get into those seats, there is somewhere that you need to start. You get from your levels uko chini. There is no Mungala, I'm telling you are not going. Okay, it starts with you. Again, now it goes to a certain level whereby you have people around you before you get to the national opposition. You get. So hapo chini now as Gen Zs, when people are talking, like you can listen to somebody, let us go to maandamano. You are also able to sit down and say, okay, we as Gen Zs, mimi nimejitolea, nimekuja. You get? I want maybe this position. I want your support so that I can get into this position, so that I can be also able to influence policies that are affecting us. So that's why I'm saying conversations need to be done, not necessarily with the government, although I'm not also refuting that. They also need those conversations, but conversations need to be done at that Gen Z level and even on other levels.
Do you know me, the conversation I want to happen, or rather I want to have, the conversation I want to have is with a young person, whether my age or otherwise, coming and asking for my vote.
Yeah, that is also a conversation.
So that is a conversation that doesn't need leadership. I just need a Gen Z to come and tell me, mbuvi niaje, mimi naitwa Kevin ama naitwa Selina ama naitwa Josephine na ninataka kiti cha woman rep. Na naomba unipatie sababu mimi kama Gen Z nimeamua that da. Mimi ninaitwa Kevin. Mimi am a young person and I want the future of this country to be better. And that is why I want you to vote for me as your MCA. And if you vote for me as your MCA, I'm going to ensure this whole tribalism issue is done. Okay? This whole idea of kingpins is done. Yes? So that we can actually have conversations about the country and not conversations about the regions. Not about a certain community being in government and another community being outside government. Mimi nakwambia Gen Z akikuja hivyo, kura yangu ashapata hata before afungue mdomo.
Utampatia kura.
Mara hiyo. Yeah. Kwa sababu I actually want someone who is willing to put in the work. Not someone, and you see the problem we're facing right now is because a lot of the old guards, let me call them that, a lot of the old guards, when they get there, they're going to discuss how they're going to ensure their legacy is taken care of.
Of course, everybody has interests. And when they sit down,
but I believe
they push for their interest, of course.
I believe we are getting to a point whereby if we actually vote watu wenye tuko na hapa kwa ground, wenye wamekuwa kiumia kama sisi, when they get there, and especially when they find that there are no cartels telling them what to do, when you cannot influence someone to vote a certain way in parliament, or you cannot influence someone to vote a certain way in the county assembly, like what we saw with the finance bill of last year. If we can get people who are independent in their thinking and cannot be influenced, or you cannot mess with them, mimi nakwambia vitu zitasonga.
Tutafika mbali. Tutafika mbali kama nchi. So it's quite important.
So ingia pale uanze kuambiwa usipofanya hivi, then wewe jua tu eneo lako maendeleo hayatafika.
One thing that I'm really pushing for is the participation by the Gen Zs. I would really urge them to get into public participation. When easy motions is in a letter, when there is something that needs your participation, needs your opinion, I really I'm really pushing for the young people to participate, because kuna some of these bills ambazo zimepitishwa just because people did not participate. Watu walileta pale, and of course walikuwa wanajua pengine hii ni kitu inaweza pigwa nje. But then ameileta pale, but because now the young people, maybe they are not aware, they do not know maybe their responsibility in matters public participation. They do not know their responsibility in matters influencing policies in the government.
I'm not saying that public participation is not important. It is definitely important. But you know what else is important? Having leaders who will not even bring those draconian laws to begin with for us to have to publicly participate in them. Unataka kuniambia MP wako by the time walikuwa na keti hivi kwa parliament, wakafanyisha hizo first reading, second reading and whatever other readings they do in parliament, your MP didn't know that this finance bill is not good for you.
But your MP will look at it and is like, okay, mimi nikiangalia kulingana na mimi kwangu iko sawa.
Unataka kuniambia na mimi nataka nataka kidogo tu hapa hivi tujaribu tu kufikiria kama watu wameenda shule, because mimi na wewe tumeenda shule. Sawa. Unataka kuniambia your member of parliament, by the time, assuming he voted for yes, yes, you want to tell me that your MP didn't know that this bill was going to hurt you? Can your member of parliament be so disconnected with you on the ground? Can your member of parliament, yes, they enjoy very good perks. These guys don't even suffer when it comes to mshahara ichelewangi. Mishahara ya Kenya wa kawaida uchelewa. Hawa MPs wanajiongezanga mshahara wanapotaka. Wewe lazima ujitetee kwa mdosi wako akuongeze mshahara, na lazima udemonstrate why you need that salary increase. All right? But you want to tell me that your MP is so disconnected from you that he or she doesn't know that you're actually going through this?
Movie, it is so natural.
So by the time, I don't want this hii story ya kuwatetea pia. I feel like we give them so much leeway.
I'm not sitetei mtu yote. I just want you to understand that it is natural. Hata wewe mwenyewe,
yes,
it is natural. When you're in a position, any position, you would want to look for your interest. That is ngoja that is a natural thing. Now it is now the integrity that you have. It is now the feeling that you have for your people that is going to. And I want you to remember also that our leaders, kwa ile bunge, we have a different calibers of leaders. Sawa sawa. Maybe my MP is not for that motion.
Right.
Sawa sawa. Is not for that bill. But then kuna other MPs hapa ambao pia their input is also quite key. So when they go, pengine hata wewe mbunge wako by the amefaitia lakini ameshindwa, amekuwa overwhelmed by the rest of the people. You get that is why now I'm saying some things do happen. So when now you as the public kiongozi wako anaweza kwenda kule kwenye bunge akashindwa katika kusukuma mswada, pengine anapitisha pia anasukuma mswada fulani amepresent, if yeye ameshindwa, you people outside there, if there is that opportunity, there is that opening for you people to participate and be able to push. That's why I'm saying let us not ignore that fact. We have a responsibility on that side. You play your responsibility. Hapo pengine now ndio tunaachia ile nafasi ya kwamba now we elect the right leaders. But who is a right leader? Now the question comes in.
I will still go back to my statement and tell you, Patricia Wayua, your MP knew in advance, way before even the finance bill got to you, that this thing wasn't good for you. But someone somewhere, or some people somewhere, told them, like it or not, you are voting yes. Sawa. Hizi stories zingine, like our president likes to call them, ni porojo. Si ati hakuwa anajua. And it's very unfortunate that apparently I never saw it with my own eyes. Brown envelopes zilitembea.
Yeah.
All right? So hii story mingi tunasema hapa, tunajaribu kujitetea, tukisema thinking about your own interest.
So are you refuting the issue of public participation? Are you saying that it does not have any impact on
I'm saying
our policies?
I'm saying public participation is very important. It is very important because not only do you give your voice to this particular situation that is going on, but you also get to understand the impact it will have on your life and the life of the people that you love, your community, your country. Sawa. That is okay. Sawa sawa. Lakini kuna zingine nakwambia for free. And I think it is Nani who sat here, Fanya Mambo Kinudhia, who said not everything about a bill is bad or is wrong.
Yeah.
There are some things we just need to change here and there. Yeah? For instance, if we have to protect State House and protect Parliament during maandamano, iongezwe kwa hiyo bill, tuta protect pia mahospitali. So that we cannot see goons doing what they did last time on Monday. Tuongeze hapo ndani that we need also to protect what? We need to protect estates where people live and so on and so forth. That is what public participation should bring out. Yeah. Right? Then also public participation, we should be allowed to say this part of the bill, for example, umlesema fine ya 100,000 ama jail term ya 3 months, can we change it in this way? Hiyo fine ikwe kidogo ama tuiongeze pia, hii jail term tuitoe ama tuiongeze pia. But the worst part is when we sit down and have that public participation and we can see overwhelmingly hii kitu imekataliwa, then inafika huko na inapita tu venye ilikuanga, hata hakuna koma imeongezwa, hakuna dot imetolewa, like literally nothing. Sometimes that inaenda with grammatical errors. You see, that is where the problem is. So public participation is good. However, Patricia, let's be honest, even before that bill gets to you, your MP knows in advance if it is good for you or bad for you.
Yeah, so I think we are just in agreement because my point here was the issue of public participation. It's also a key principle to governance because we are looking at the issues of governance. So even as election is key to the governance of the country,
yes,
such things like public participation are also key, and that is why I was saying that we have also a responsibility to be participating. And also I'm looking forward to that time when now public participation will work as it is expected of it. Yeah, I've had the mgeni wetu leo akisema kwamba they need to come up maybe with acts that will operate. Yeah, will make the articles operate. Sorry. Yeah. So I think also for the public participation there are issues that need to be addressed, the procedures, kuna challenges kadhaa ambazo zinahitaji kuangaliwa, and especially like for the feedback, tumepeana feedback, easy feedback zimechukuliwa ama zijachukuliwa. Then again also the issue of the procedures, I mean the process itself of getting this public participation is also has a challenge. So I'm just looking forward to an act that is going to help in putting this into action. Yeah,
public participation,
so
in
that
my opinion,
because it is key, it is quite key. That's why I'm saying the young people also need to understand and be able also to participate in such things, because they inform decision making in our countries. They inform the cost of living. Hiyo cost of living yenye unasema iko juu, somehow kuna mahali pengine unge influence through your public participation. So it is quite important, even as we push, we might vote for good people. Yeah, wewe unaweza mpigia kiongozi wako mzuri aingie pale parliament, but sometimes like I have said, because it is just normal for people to push for their own interests. That is just something in every human being. Once they get there, kuna vitu zingine wanaweza kwenda kuweka kule hivi ambazo they look like they are good, kumbe they are harming the normal mwananchi. So it is quite important when you are required to come and influence these decisions, come. It's gonna help it's gonna make our work our struggles a bit easier. Yes.
Speaking of public participation, there's a guy called Muhoozi Kainerugaba. He is mdosi wa jeshi kule Uganda, and also the son of President Yoweri Museveni. And this is what he has tweeted a couple of hours ago, actually at 5:17 a.m. Kenyan time. The only Kenyan I support at this point is Afande Ruto. If he needs any support from UPDF, we shall provide it.
Wow.
Ruth the Hustler, huyu ni Mkenya for sure. Amemwambia sleep. Yani kalale. Mtuma Matthew amesema, dear Mr. Kainerugaba, we don't care. This is public participation, eh? Korir Weldon amemwambia Kenya iko imara ndugu, we are in the midst of a genuine democratic and economic revolution. Uganda's turn will come soon enough, but get this straight, Kenya is 39 years, a constitution and 3 presidents ahead of Museveni's Uganda. Stay informed.
Well, I think him is one person I wouldn't want to discuss. We have seen his contact on social media. I don't even understand how people operate there, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not somebody that we need to hold a discussion about, because I feel some of the comments that he does, some of the things that he puts on his social media, they are ata unashindwa. What is this? But again,
yes,
jokingly, as he may have appear, kuna point, kuna some message where he's trying to pass across.
Right.
Yeah, so sometimes, we might think like, because so many people have always told him like, we hatuwezi kukusikiza, there's a problem with you, you get. But now, if you look in between the lines of the messages that he's putting across,
yes,
wako na message mahali, wako na message that people can take serious.
Mr. Jordan, still on Twitter, amemwambia, please do so Afande, since the weak Kenyan police betrayed him. Moses amemwambia hey, sitasoma. Daddy's boy flex, will you be anything after your daddy? That's a question a Kenyan has asked him. Aya, good morning Afande, huyu amemsalimia tu. Aya, Peter Irungu amemwambia, Kenya isn't Sudan or Congo, don't even dream of bringing your militia here. Okay? Rama Nakans amesema, it's only UPDF that can save Ruto from the Gen Z. Korir Edward amemwambia, shut up. Hey, zingine hapa siwezi soma. They are very derogative. Crispus amemwambia, Kenya deserves better, sir. Jeff Osiba amemwambia, General, send the nyabos only. The rest can wait at the border.
Nyabo ni
ladies.
Ni girls,
send
yeah?
The ladies, eh?
Yes.
Last but not least, Odio Ward Maria amesema, you must have woken up in a sleazy achane nayo hapa. We. This is a people's revolution. No amount of borrowed boots will stop a nation that's already awake. Kenya is not a battlefield for your egos. It's a country demanding change. So you can go check out Muhoozi Kainerugaba. He has said a lot.
Yeah, I'm telling you, in between that statement hiyo tu kidogo hiyo, there is a lot of message hapo. Kuna message kubwa sana.
Yes.
That na tutaki kuongea zaidi kuhusu,
na Wakenya wanamtukana properly. Mimi sikujua Wakenya wanaweza kuwa wabaya hivi. There are some things Kenyans are saying here and I'm like, these ones, what are the feature screen in case the camera
one thing that I like, of course, I know freedom of expression. We have really enjoyed a freedom of expression,
right,
up to until the moment whereby now when you start of being of a decent voice, that is when now we are now the hapo ndo tuna draw line.
Yes.
But in terms of these other things, and especially on social media, on Twitter, that is where people are going to tell you the truth. Yeah. And that is where now people are going to write things critically. That is where people are going to criticize you.
Right.
That is where people are going to think in between your statements. Did you see what Moses Kuria, after he wrote his tweet?
Yeah.
The reactions down there. So on these social media pages, because of that freedom, of course, that we have, people are able now to criticize. People are able now to read in between lines, and of course, hii pia inasaidia watu kuelewa, and especially in the political scene.
I just want to read a tweet here from one listener. I think this came in the previous hour when we were talking about a lot of things, and we've just spoken rather about security right now. And he says, this is Eddie Otieno. One thing about security, it starts with you and me. The youths causing chaos in Kitengela and looting are just our sons and brothers. We can advise them. Otherwise, we act now or remain silent and perish. Wow. He also mentioned and said, we wait to see Moses Kuria moves, but as the shrewd politician he is, we watch his moves closely. He's mentioned on the two issues that we spoke about earlier on, the fact that Moses Kuria has resigned from government, and I think he's thinking just like me. We are waiting to see whether Moses Kuria will go and disrupt Mlima. Sababu tunajua hapo ndio kuna kizungumkuti. The other thing we are waiting to see is if he actually joins DCP and the former DP's outfit and just decides maybe to aibomoe kutoka ndani. Nasikianga hii country inakuanga na malls. Unaingia kwa chama ndio kuwe mall. Let's wait and see for that.
You first get in,
and
there's somebody who is so good at that. You get in
and then
you fight from within.
Pasua Mbarika.
There's somebody by the country who is so good at that. They get in, then now from within they tell I'm gonna fight well when I'm from within. And of course that is the best strategy of fighting. When you fight from within, because unajua ukiwa within, you know the cracks, unajua pahali kuna exit door, you know just everything about your
I won't mention names or point fingers, but I miss Baba in the opposition.
Okay.
There's something else that Eddie Otieno has mentioned. He has spoken about, considering all things said and done, security has to be, of course, observed. And if I can just read that tweet again, he was talking about maandamano, the fact that perhaps they need to continue but taken differently. This is what he said. Eddie Otieno amesema, one thing about security, it starts with you and me. The youth causing chaos in Kitengela and looting are just our sons and brothers. We can advise them. Otherwise, we act.
The message of that small act you are doing, it can either build the country, it can either push the country forward, or it can bring it
down.
True. So it is a responsibility to each and every one of us. Not even forgetting our leaders. They have a bigger responsibility in ensuring that our country is peaceful.
Yes.
Because they have been in so many times associated with the goons. Na unajua pali popote kuna goons, movie forget about peace. Pali popote kuna goons. Forget about the moment goons wanaingia, peace leaves in any country. So now and I'm so worried because like from where I'm seated, I'm just looking at our leaders, like surely, do you really know what you are doing for this country? Do you really know where you are taking this country?
I mean, we can ask them.
Yeah, that is a question. I do not want to point at any one specific person, because of course you point at this anakwambia sio mimi. Yeah, ukienda kwa unasema si mimi, ukienda kwa unasema ni yule. So I just want people just to get down, sit down, examine yourself. Do you think your actions are taking the country to the right direction? Do you think your actions are taking the country ahead? Ama it is bringing down the country?
All right. Interesting conversation. Let's come to an end as far as that is concerned, because now we need to switch gears and exit na tuache retro box, which is going to be taken over in a couple of minutes. Rania is coming through. Did you listen to her yesterday? She did an amazing show, by the way. But I could tell she's missing Brian Odur.